Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Pylon Show. This is episode number 116. Oh, that's me. I'm like, one of you guys has the sound coming back in, but it was me. Okay. I was like, which one of you idiots are screwing up my intro here? But yes, welcome back. I know that we had the Brood War Christmas special in the StarCraft 2 Christmas special, and generally that's it for the year. But today is the 31st. Today is New Year's Eve for me. And I thought, you know what? Why don't we put together a New Year's resolution show after this shitty year? We're going into what is probably going to be a better one. And I have two of my favorite people to help with that. Nate and Neuro. How are you guys doing?
Solid. Hanging in there.
Yeah.
Ready for a less shitty year.
Can't wait. How about you, Nate? What's going on, man?
All of that. Yes, exactly. Very doing all right, hanging in there. Had a nice little Christmas, out camping a little bit, and just excited for everything to come, because boy, oh boy, I can't imagine if it did find a way to get worse, right? We can only go up from here. I'm pretty confident.
Do you want to know my end of year bad luck meme that happened to me?
Please, yeah.
Christmas Eve in the morning. I'm waking up. I can hear Christmas music outside the room. I'm at my parents' place. There are jingle bells and shit. I get a bunch of emails and phone calls that my apartment has water damage, and they need me to go figure out how much it is and then go sort things out. So I'm wondering, is my stream setup totally destroyed? Fortunately, everything is intact and it's fine, but I just chalk that up as another 2020 just giving its last little hurrah. It's like the last boss fight or something.
Nice.
Just take it in stride. Get it out of the way. Get it out of the way so next year it can just be awesome. A bunch of good stuff that happens. Oh, unexpected good news. We'll take that.
Yes, please.
Well, I guess I'm lucky that will never happen to me. If flooding occurs and wrecks my streaming setup, it means the world has ended, because I live on the 13th floor. So that's like, I'm one of the few people left alive at that point. So I'll take it. I'm not going to be streaming to many people at that point. All right. So basically we're going to be going over resolutions that people put in, things like, how do I get better in this way or that way? So that's going to be a lot of fun. But before that, I guess we should just talk just briefly about like this year and keeping the motivation and becoming remotivated for next year. Nero, do you want to talk to us a little bit about this?
Yeah. So for some context, for many of us, 2020 was the very worst year in our entire lifespan for how it affected every individual on a personal level. There have been some stuff, maybe some of you have examples, but there was a financial crisis that hit some people pretty hard. But this was an unprecedented year where we had to do a bunch of really surreal and weird different stuff. And one of the things that was asked of us was quarantine and isolation. So we're not spreading diseases amongst each other. Stay in your homes. Don't touch people. Don't shake hands. Don't give hugs. Don't PDA in public, stuff like that. That's really hard for human beings. We're social creatures. One of the ways that we connect and we express ourselves is with a hug, with a pat on the back, just cheering people on, being there for them in a physical way, being close to people. It's something that we need. We're social creatures. We're not robots. So 2020, can I say, it fucking sucked. It fucking sucked for everybody. And our general mood is down. We don't feel as excited and hyped every day because I didn't get to hug Nathanias at BlizzCon because we didn't get to go. That's a bummer. I didn't get to shake people's hands. I didn't realize how much I enjoy a good handshake. Like a good proper handshake when you meet somebody new. It's just a nice way to get to know them and stuff. And now it's like, germs, don't touch people. That's a bummer. So if you feel down and if you feel sad and if you feel like this is the least motivating year that you've had, that's okay. And that's normal. And there's not something wrong with you. I think it's pretty easy to spiral when the year has been so bad. You feel like maybe there's something wrong with me. I'm just not motivated enough. I'm not this or I'm not that. I'm not good enough. The circumstances have been terrible. So give yourself a break. Be compassionate upon yourself. Be compassionate on your communities. People are just more grumpy. I think if we can forgive ourselves for that reaction, then we can more easily get back up and get moving again.
Well said. Anything to add to that, Nate?
Yeah, no, I think you hit a lot of great points. There was, I think, one of my favorite interactions that I got to see this year was someone posted in like a fitness subreddit about how they had let themselves go and they were, eating more, put on some weight in quarantine and all that jazz. And they're talking about how much, they're beating themselves up over not being able to hit the goals that they had set for themselves at the start of the year. And Arnold Schwarzenegger actually replied to that. He posted in it, and I don't know it word for word, but it was something, his reply was something to the effect of, it's okay to have bad times and do things that help you get through them in your own way. And I think the most important thing about this year is that however rough it's been, all the difficulties many people going through, I think all of us affected in some way. I lost a lot of work this year, right? But the most important thing to keep in mind is some of the things that you have to do to survive difficult situations are necessary. And sometimes it's okay to put those types of things off to the side if you're going through some hard times, because at the end of the day, you have to preserve yourself, right? If you're going to be able to do the things that you want to do in the future. So if you had a rough year, if you weren't able to hit those goals, don't beat yourself up too hard over it, because, obviously some folks had really bad years and, all of that. But at the end of the day, you gotta take care of yourself if you're going to be able to try to do things further down the line. So I would just say, keep your chin up, and well, it'll be exciting to talk about the next year's stuff after that.
I would like to add one thing for big picture context beyond just our lifespan. To be alive in the 21st century, it is actually pretty good compared to the history of humanity and prehistory, just for our level of safety and risk and things like that. We do still have a lot of advantages that people in previous generations did not. I don't think 2020 was as bad as being alive during World War II. So with that context, humanity has endured more than this. So we will make it through. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Yes, it sucks, but it's not the worst thing that's ever happened to us. We can dust ourselves off, and hopefully we've built some character and we've learned some lessons this year that we can take forward with us that make us wiser and stronger.
Yeah, and even with a negative year, like I think it's important to look forward with optimism. And I know one thing that helps me get out of funks and stuff is to have some sort of goals, some sort of things that I'm working towards. And I think that that's something that if you look at those with optimism, which is kind of what this show is about, and trying to help people that might have goals that are related to things that we know about, like streaming or casting or playing StarCraft or whatever. Yeah, that's I think that can be a good thing for you. I know for me personally, that's a good thing to kind of reset and have that optimism going forward. Cool. Yeah, let's jump into some of these things that people left for us. Now there was like a Reddit thread, there's a Team Liquid thread, there's on our Discord for the Pylon Show, we have a channel you can still drop things into if you want to post your resolution that you want help with. I was looking through before the show, and there are things in here that are just not what we're looking for, which is places that there's like things in here that would be a great Patreon question, which we will do at the end of the show, but don't fit here, so we will skip those. So sorry about that if you post in there with something other than that. So I'm going to start off with us on the Reddit thread, and one I see here is from none other than Gemini, or better known as GGE Mini, who of course we know, a big time community member within StarCraft 2. And he says, finding ways to better manage my limited time to enjoy StarCraft. Working a full-time job that has me doing a lot of outside the office work as well leaves me tired and with not much time to play. I'm used to being able to spend much more time with the game and have standards set for myself for how good I'd like to be, but find it hard to match those standards. As a result, I see myself becoming increasingly angry at my inability to improve and at my current situation that doesn't leave me with the freedom to play as much as I'd like. I know I need to shift my standards and reprioritize now that I can't spend as much time with StarCraft 2, but all I really still want to do is play and be as good as I can. That is a great one to start with, I think, and something I know, Neuro, you have put a lot of effort thinking about in the past. But how does somebody with a full-time job, where you're even working outside the job some, do this? Continue to improve. You know, if you want to play, we know that Gemini is really passionate about StarCraft and everything. So, what do you guys think about this?
I would like to start with what he would like and what a lot of people would like, which is some mysterious trick or maneuver that allows you to actually retain or exceed your maximum skill level when you don't have as much time to play. But we don't have that kind of snake oil. It doesn't exist. So unfortunately, he is correct in that you do need to shift your standards if you don't have as much time to play. I have a personal example that happened at the end of 2019 when I took on guild leadership in a classic WoW raiding guild, and how much time that takes. So week to week, I don't have as much time to play StarCraft. My numbers did go down. There was actually a thread in the StarCraft subreddit about, is MMR on the various servers going down for GM in general? And I was using it as an example case. That lined up perfectly for when that game came out and when I started dividing my time a little bit. And I think about your performance and your condition in terms of jogging versus sprinting. A full sprint would be, you have nothing but StarCraft practice on your plate. You have no job, you have no family, you have no pets, you have no other obligations. You are purely a StarCraft samurai in a cave with an internet connection, and that is your whole life. That is the full sprint, zero distractions. You have all of your energy every day to focus on that. Basically, no one has that amount of time to spend toward the game. People have families, people have other obligations. Even pro players, they have to do other stuff. Many of them stream and make YouTube videos and things like that. So starting with an anchor point of realism of how many hours can I commit, and then trying to have some efficient approach to retaining your skill. To speak to Gemini, he's a strong macro player for a Protoss. So having some well-rounded style for each of your matchups that you can tweak and fine tune and keep polishing, I think is better than having a whole bunch of different builds that you're mixing in constantly, which you can't really polish and refine if you're playing with limited time.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's something I'd love to mention about this, right? I think, do we have reverb coming out of someone's thing?
I might
you know
adjust
what?
mine a
I know
little bit.
exactly what it is. I didn't mute the frickin' my microphone in this other thing. Okay, I am so bad at this tech. Okay, so basically looking. No, I do. I hear myself. What's going on here? Why do I hear myself? Okay, I'm gonna try again. All right, so I think that you have to look at the way that you're practicing really differently when you start to have less time than before. Now, knowing specifically about Gemini and knowing him pretty well, he's someone that really keeps up on the most cutting edge builds, right? Like and this goes to exactly what you said, Neuro, where you want to reduce the amount of strategies that you're practicing if you have less time. Like before, obviously, he had a ton of time, and he's always releasing these guides on brand new cutting edge builds, and that's great. But if you don't have time to do that anymore, you have to change the way that you're practicing. I would say cut out time consuming things this year, like studying new strats all the time. Instead, refocus on very small things, very fundamental things, because that's going to give you the most bang for your buck and be completely useful in all areas, right? Like if you're trying the most basic stuff and using fundamental skills, then even when you get that time again, you're going to be able to grasp the new strategies very quickly with your really strong base of play. Also, remember that you actually are still improving, even if your MMR is going down, just not as fast as other players. It's not like you're magically getting worse. I think that this is a really important thing. Like if you're dropping, the thing is, everyone's improving as they play more. People don't actually get worse, right? Like that's not actually really a thing. The more you play, the better you're going to get, unless you're like purposefully trying to play poorly. So you're improving, it's just not as quickly. Everyone's improving all the time. You are going to be better next year than this year if you take a couple replays and look at them. Maybe your builds aren't going to be as sharp, but you should be better overall. So I think focusing on those fundamentals is probably the most bang for your buck you can get.
Yeah, strongly agree on that, and especially with kind of keying in on your play style of what you want to do. Not just because obviously, competitively there's advantages to being able to play multiple different types of styles, but if you only have so much time to play, you really should try to carve out and really key on whichever part of playing StarCraft is what you enjoy the most or what you feel gives you the most rewarding experience when you do get that opportunity to play. So if it's cannon rush in every game, throw them in more. If you want to do off meta types of builds that you're like, well, this wouldn't be good in a tournament, man, you only got so much time to play, right? There's really nothing wrong with playing the game in a way that is gonna kind of give you a little bit more of the validation that you seek from it. And it's exactly what Artosis said. MMR going down doesn't mean that you're getting worse at the game. It can just simply means you're not improving at the same rate as other players. And sometimes that's just how it goes. You're gonna lose. Everybody has losing streaks, and sometimes you get fed a winning streak or two, but yeah, I think the most important thing is don't beat yourself up over it because you've obviously acknowledged in your post, and I think this is really important. You're already aware of it, but you have good reasons why you can't play as much as you normally can. So just keep that in mind when you're feeling those feelings of frustration and be like, well, the time that you've put towards other things in your life is, that's something that you want to go somewhere too.
Look, you're not bad. Other people are just better.
That's true.
I've been trying to work on this.
Yeah.
I've been trying to work on this in my own play in figuring out what is a good composition that I can go for. Like, what is my max out for my army? And ever since the Widowmine buff, I've just been getting destroyed by Terran a whole bunch. And I kind of went back to the drawing board for a lot of my replays. And I would get to a point where I'm maxed and the opponent is maxed. And I didn't like my army. I said, this is just kind of a shitty army. So what is something that I can make that's going to give me more aggressive options? I can take good fights on creep, and it doesn't matter as much what the Terran is doing because there is a good bit of variety in the meta right now, which is nice. But just going back to the basics of Lingbane Hydra and then trying out the Lurker at Hive Tech it's been really fun. So just learning a broad style and then trying to put that in a bunch of different situations where the consistency in your play comes from your choices for your game flow. The opponents are going to be inconsistent. They introduce the chaos. You have your own order that you're trying to establish with all of their shenanigans and bullshit.
Yeah, great. And with the back to what Nate said about like the winning streaks and losing streaks and stuff, don't forget that you are your entire MMR range. So try not to get too frustrated when you go up and down. I know that that's easier said than done, but that's from Jared Tendler's book. I think that's one of the most powerful ways to look at it, is that you are your full range. Work on the bottom things, work on the fundamental, the things you're weakest at. Slowly but surely, you will continue to improve. All right. Any other thoughts for Gemini before we go on to another question?
Cheering for you, buddy. You can do it.
Absolutely. You will continue to get better. I promise. All right. We have one here from Gigaga SC2. Says, I'm on the road to self-improvement with StarCraft as a catalyst. My goal this year is to improve my presence of mind. Even after 1,000 games in a season, I still freeze up in the middle of games because of anxiety. It seems like players that are mechanically slower than me or with less game knowledge are overall better than me because of this. It's hard to have both presence of mind and remain as active and fast as StarCraft requires. Any advice?
Yo, that's some real stuff right there. And I know exactly what this guy is talking about. That's something that I have a lot of experience with. I think when you're playing a game that pushes you like that, especially with the 1v1 environment, all the pressure is on you. If you're somebody who has anxiety, and I don't know if you have it the same way that I experience it, but for me, it's every time that I do something wrong or I feel like I'm making a mistake, it starts to spiral in my mind about all of the negative consequences of that, where I'm like, oh, I screwed this up, so now he's just going to kill me because this 5-second supply block is going to mean I won't have enough units to hold this push and all of that stuff. And there really isn't a magical fix or cure for that. That's the nature of taking it to somebody 1 versus 1. That's that pressure. I mean, that rush is partially why we play StarCraft as well, because it is a difficult thing to just work through, right? And I think that it's something that you need to just be aware of, and the more aware of it that you are, I think the easier it'll be to avoid projecting it onto something else. Like it's easy to think that, oh, this guy's slower than me, or maybe his build was worse, but I just kind of, I'm stressed out. I'm not all there. I'm having a hard time with this match. Like, and honestly, saying that you're playing 1,000 games in a season, I think that can be a part of it too, because you need to give your mind a break sometimes from that stuff, because when that feeling continuously hits you, when you let that feeling continuously hit you, even if you are aware of it, at some point we all have our limits with what's going to overwhelm us and set us back. And I think it also comes into a bit of over practicing right at that point too, where it'll be, if you're maybe have it in lower amounts, but keep it more focused on what you're trying to do, you can avoid kind of scaling that in your head. At least I feel like whenever I would go for really long sessions, it was really hard not to get completely derailed by something mentally in a game, especially if I was like being attacked early on or something. Like every possible negative thing that I could die to was just, that's all I could think about right in that whole moment, rather than focusing on my build, focusing on my macro, focusing on building workers.
So
I have 2 physical things to add on to this. One of them would be managing your breathing. So if you are in the heat of the moment, a lot of times people will stop breathing. They'll hold their breath because they're trying to get a whole bunch of stuff done. If you can control your breathing, make sure it's broad, consistent, and confident. Just between games, just check in with your breathing. Or am I just breathing normally, deeply, and slowly? That moves you more into a relaxed state. I've talked about negative tilt as a concept, which is basically getting yourself further away from a tilted state before you start. Mentally, I use gratitude, where I think about being thankful that I get time to practice StarCraft, which is a thing that I love a whole bunch. That helps me a lot when I get Australia server and I have to micro Ling Bane and it's really tilting, because I was grateful that I even got to play before I started that. So I would recommend breathing and just checking in, making sure that you're being consistent and calm. Like Nate said, just giving yourself a bit more of a break between games. If you go from like a really high intensity, stressful, obnoxious match and then just rage queue into the next one, yeah, you're going to be pretty anxious and stressed. But if you just give yourself a little bit of time, when I do my tryhard streams on Tuesdays, I physically get out of my chair between every game, and that helps my blood flow a whole bunch. Another thing that can help with anxiety and stress when you play is, how are you hitting the keys on your keyboard and how are you clicking the mouse? I've noticed that when I'm tryharding and I'm really stressed and into it, sometimes I'll be like banging the keys, like as though by me being mad and hitting it harder that a result is going to be different. That just causes more strain in my forearm, and I've actually felt some discomfort in my keyboard forearm whenever I do that. So trying to play gently, where you're not beating the shit out of your keyboard, but you're simply pressing the keys enough to register them, but no further force beyond that, I think that can help you too. So just having a very calm physical state when you're playing and checking yourself as you're going along.
Really good. I want to attack the part of this where he said he gets the anxiety during the game. Anxiety is, I think in my opinion, the best way to think about anxiety is it's the fear of change in your status or your perceived status. And if you kind of look at what that means within StarCraft, because every time I hear about ladder anxiety or something like that, or having anxiety while you're actually playing, it really rings true when I think about it. What does this mean? Oh, your perceived status is like how good you are. Like, are you going to lose from this position? And that can definitely give you anxiety within the game. But I think it's important to decouple your value from whatever rank you are or what games you win. Right? Like, this is something that I personally used to struggle with a lot. Like back in pre-StarCraft 2 days when I would play StarCraft, at tournaments, it was basically my life. Not that much has changed, but StarCraft was too wrapped up with my self-valuing, right? Like if I was not playing well at StarCraft, I was not valuable to myself. And so that can become a big issue. And I think that can cause a lot of anxiety. You are not your ladder rank. And in fact, if you want to improve, if what you say is true here and you actually want to improve yourself, it's better to aim for truth rather than masters 1 or 3 or diamond or whatever ranks that you're floating around, right? Those aren't even real. And let's be honest, you ask anyone their ladder rank or how good they are at StarCraft 2, and you're gonna get like 1% of people giving you the absolute God's truth of like, oh, I range from Diamond 3 to Diamond 1 on a good day, right? But then 99% of the time, people are going to quote the best rank they ever got. They're like, oh, I'm GM sometimes, yeah, and then you got a little bit of people too who are like, oh no, that game's too hard, I don't play it, whatever. So we'll count those out, but uh, I think that's a problem, and that helps to cause ladder anxiety. Is that everyone pretends they're their highest rank? I see this all the time, even with like really strong players between StarCraft 1 and 2, where they say what they are when I'm talking to them, and then I go check, and it's like, no, you're not. You're not that. What's the point of lying about that? Let's go for truth instead, right? It's okay to lose those extra games, because if you actually face it and say, okay, my rank doesn't really matter right now, I'm just going to play as good as I can and improve, you're actually going to get better much more quickly. And I think that should help with anxiety, in my opinion.
Yeah, don't put all of your self-worth on the line for a ladder match. I think some people do that. It's like, my reputation and my family's reputation up and down for 10 generations is on the line for this ladder match right now. And they're just like shaking because they feel like everything matters to the maximum level. When think about ladder like going to the gym. I'm going into a house where I can train to get stronger. And these opponents, by attacking me, allow me to get stronger. I don't necessarily defeat their strat every time, but I do get to train. So you can be grateful for them allowing you to practice, and you get stronger with every session you put in games.
Yeah. All right. I hope that helps you out, Giga SC2. I think I'm going to jump over to the Team Liquid thread. There wasn't that much in the Reddit thread other than that, and some memes. Savko says, I would love to get any advice for my goals for the new year. Wake up earlier and actually do something useful with the extra time. Spend less on takeout, get a bit of exercise in each day, and stop dying to Marine Tank Liberator pushes. Doesn't tell us his race here. So I'm not sure exactly how much we can help exactly with that. If you want to wake up earlier, though, go to bed earlier. That is actually the key, believe it or not. That is...
Savko is in the chat. They're Protoss.
Oh, okay, excellent. Protoss. Okay, so he's dying to Marine Tank and Liberator pushes. Well, I guess, I've been known to play a bit of StarCraft 2 Protoss in my day. Look, if you can't beat the army, don't engage it. I think this sounds so obvious, but the amount of people that don't follow this simple principle of StarCraft, if you're not going to win the fight, don't fight it. Okay? Walk your army around, stop reinforcements, continue to build. You can take some damage on your Nexus. You can lose a few probes in your front gateway or whatever the hell it is. But really, just keep making your units and don't fight under Liberators, for God's sake. Like that. That is every time someone goes and fights under Liberators and loses, I'm just like, I mean, it's pretty obvious these things do like 70 damage a hit. Yeah, I don't know anything from you guys on his,
do you have a moment to speak about our Lord and Savior warping zealots in the main? It's a very strong move. I think for a lot of people who play Protoss, they get attacked and they're like, man, I have no idea what to do against this. And you look at the opponent's main base, you put 10 zealots there, and suddenly you're in a super strong position. I die to it all the time as a Zerg. If my Zerg army is really strong and I'm going and sieging a Protoss base and feeling like a boss, and then a bunch of zealots kill all my tech, suddenly I'm dead. So there's the trick.
There's nothing that'll get your attention faster than being able to have like a backstab or something going, because especially with if you're getting hit by like a Terran player making that push and they don't have their units all together like at top of their natural ramp or something, you might even be able to just have something that you put out while you saw the attack coming and just go for a little bit of a counter to distract them. Obviously there's a lot of different scenarios that can happen, but waking up earlier is a pretty fun one though. I do like that. I agree with Dan. It's about going to bed earlier if you can. I think it's harder to go to sleep sometimes if you have big screens on in front of your face. So when you want to go to bed, you should try to be not looking at your giant TV or your phone or your computer. Not doing something like playing a game of StarCraft that's going to get you all worked up and stressed out possibly, and then try to lie down. That's something that's not going to work well. But I think my process for getting up early, because I've been waking up super early this year especially, and I love doing it, is have some stuff that like set some rules for your morning and structure how you want your day to start. I think is one of the best ways to get into a rhythm with that. When I wake up, I don't do anything before I shower. I won't go to my office. I won't turn on my computer. I won't look at anything. Maybe I'll look at it if I have like some texts or something on my phone. But as soon as I get out of bed, the first thing I do is I'm getting dressed and I'm cleaning myself up. And you have your whole routine, right? Brush your teeth, etc., all that stuff. And like I know that as soon as I'm done with that, I'm gonna take my dog outside. He's gonna go to the bathroom. I'm gonna make my cup of coffee. I do it in the same order every day, and you kind of, it becomes something that when you wake up, you kind of look forward to each part as you get through it. And that I think is it's about building like those habits, but having like a little bit of a structured plan goes a long way, because you don't ever have to think about what you're doing if you're like, okay, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do next.
Yeah.
I'm working on something new that I haven't done before in my routine, which is trying to go for a walk every morning when I get up. Sometimes I end up turning it into a run if I'm feeling it, and most of the time I end up doing that, but I found that it's a lot easier to get myself out the door if I'm committed to a walk instead of a run. In Seattle, it's really rainy and dreary pretty much every day in the winter, so it's not really the most ideal circumstances where you look out the window and you're like, it's a beautiful day, let's go for a walk. You look out and it's like, it's a really dreary day. I think I want to stay inside and be cozy. That's what your body says. Once you get out and moving, you warm up and it's fine. And it's really good for your legs and joints. And I think it's good to clear your head, set your intentions for the day, get ready, get pumped up a little bit just by being outside and getting some fresh air. But man, you've got the 2020 memes in addition to a dreary winter. It's pretty tough to get outside. So just getting out for a walk first. And then maybe if you feel peppy, you could go for a run too.
Yeah, that's really good stuff. And on the getting up early thing, like if you go to bed earlier and you wake up earlier, you're going to find, as long as you're not like hopping on your PC or looking at your phone when you get up, that you will do useful stuff with the extra time. Like people who get up early get a lot done. Like since I had kids, basically, I went from being a night person to a morning person. And by 9 a.m., the amount of things that I've already gotten done each day, it's almost a victory compared to the way that I used to be before, where like before when I would wake up at noon or whatever, in my e-gamer days when I was young like you guys, I would not get anywhere near as much done. So just try not to look at those screens when you first get up in the morning, like these guys said, right? Like don't just go in and sit on your computer when you get up or scroll through social media on your phone. That's not gonna help you. You can do that at night or in the morning or whatever. The morning is generally quieter and stuff, and I think that you will find yourself getting more done, and then you might actually just really like getting up early because of that.
But Artosis, the memes are so dank. You're telling me not to browse memes when I wake up.
Trust me, they will still be there later on. And if you miss them, someone will repost them very shortly thereafter. So no worries.
Especially if it's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, if you actually miss something, I promise someone will repost it as their own. Good luck with that, Savko. Next one we have there from iMech Kolos. The StarCraft 2 related part is solidify my mech play in all matchups to finally reach Masters 2 or Masters 1. That's a good one for you, Nate.
Yeah, I love this question. Okay, obviously I was looking at this earlier today, and I was thinking about how not to answer this without saying 1,000 words or 1,000,000 or whatever. But I think when it comes to mech play, it's about having compositions that you can use in those three matchups. Like, is because I totally understand that there's a predisposition of like what mech is, and then there's what mech is in certain types of matchups. So you're only going to do certain things in TVT, you're only going to do certain things in TVZ, or you're only going to do certain things in TVP. But I think that the best thing for rounding it out is having a couple of habits that you can share across all of them. Like, you may not like cyclones, for example, against Terran, but doing like cyclone openers was something that I did because I can kind of translate that when I want to use them against Zerg or when I want to use them against Protoss. And I would primarily use them if I was doing like a mech style. I would use a lot more cyclones usually in a TVZ or a TVP, right? But doing builds where you can work all of the units in through your matchups, I think, is a really important way to help keep those mechanics up between the matchups. And in general, mech is going to be the most vulnerable for a lot of types of early game attacks that you'll hit. So, I mean, going back to basics, you want to know when you're playing your matchups. You want to be able to have an idea either through looking at your replays or just playing a large volume of games. But like knowing when Mutalisks might show up, right? If you were going to do a build that isn't going to blind counter like a Mutalisk rush, for example, this is just a completely random example. You want to be able to answer the question of, if I was to be hit with this type of attack, how would I adjust what I'm going to do to specifically deal with this? And I think that that's probably the thing that'll help you the most, because getting up to that point, it's a lot of early game aggressive type builds. And even when you're in like Grandmaster playing mech, majority of your losses, if you're playing mech, if your games are going like okay-ish, most of your losses should be earlier on, where people are hitting you with timings before you get that big maxed out army, and then you'll play the occasional wizard who can pick it apart once you get to that big maxed out phase. But I think working on things that you can translate between those, with regards to like your Mutalisks versus your Prisms or the early Stargate plays, and being very liberal with your scans and remembering that you don't need as many minerals as you do when you're playing bio, because information when you're playing mech, I think, is way more valuable than those resources. But yeah, I mean, I could write a book right now, but I'll try to limit my answer to that. But trying to find the common threads between all of the matchups that you can tie together so that you're not, playing a super hardcore style that only works in one matchup when you're playing mech that limits you in others.
Couple things from a Zerg perspective when I get messed up by mech would be Terran who are patient and they don't overcommit too early and move across the map, and they have upgrades constantly running. The 3/3 Thor transition is pretty terrifying for Zerg, so getting those armories up pretty early on and having them always working. It's a late game oriented composition. I think mech is very upgrade dependent, but they also shine a whole bunch once they have max set upgrades. Tanks deal so much heckin' damage, so do Thors.
Yeah, from a Protoss perspective, I would say that's probably the hardest matchup to make mech work out in, TVP in StarCraft 2. And there's some tricks to it. So first off, like, you can do something like, I mean, I personally don't like barcodes, but you can use a barcode, and because if someone knows that you're the mech guy and they hit you, they're going to go ahead and blind counter that. So using a barcode can play against that and make them play more honestly. But another way that you can do that if you don't want to use barcodes, or you find people are blind countering you because of your style, is you can have a build that wrecks the blind counter that you mix in occasionally just to keep them honest as well, right? So like, let's say that you go mech a bunch, and Protoss players figured you out, and they're like, oh, he goes mech. So what I do here is I just open up with Immortals or something, or whatever he might decide. Everyone's going to have their own thing. You can then have a build that looks similar on the opening, right? Because they aren't trying that hard to scout you. It looks similar, and then you kill them with something else where it's like, oh, look at that. I went 3 racks Stim Marines, and you have 2 Immortals and 3 Zealots, right? And now I kill you, or something like that. Just off the top of my head. So something like that can help, because I think that mech against Protoss is something where you need the Protoss playing honest to really have a shot for having a winning record long term. Yeah. All right. Hope that helps. Good luck, iMech Kolos. All right. Thaniri has, I have played this game for 10 years on and off, and the longest I've ever been GM was 3 days. Now, see, this is one of those 1% that I was talking about, someone that's being honest about their ladder ranks here. I want to finish an entire season in GM, and not even good GM, like the bottom of NA GM. It's still quite good, though. Come on. And life-related, the world benefits enormously from open source software. I'm going to contribute to repositories that I have literally built my career on, contribute to repositories that make the world a better place, find missing need in the StarCraft content creator space, and code something to solve that problem. I'm thinking of building some software for streamers to automatically generate replay packs and upload them to Discord for their subs after their streams are done. Kind of niche problem, but yeah. Oh, that's cool, man.
That's awesome.
I like to hear those
pretty.
things.
Yeah, those are fantastic goals, and kudos to you for not only having the ability to do that type of thing, but wanting to contribute it to make the world a better place. That's That's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, he wants to finish an entire season in GM, like just hold on to it instead of just peek in from time to time. How did you guys go from being like Masters players into solid GM?
Do you want to know a trick? Keep a
Yeah.
spreadsheet of the cheesers. I actually have a spreadsheet that I restarted. I did this on my first
Okay.
push to GM, where if I face an opponent, they do a cannon rush, they get written down as a cannon rushing player. And I have builds that I can open up with that are less economical, but very, very comfortable in dealing with the cannon rush. If they don't cannon rush, I still feel confident against them in a macro game from a less than ideal opening. But it just dramatically increases my win rate because it removes all of their early game edges they wanted to do to take you off balance. You steal the initiative from them, basically. You can also write down who's a defensive turtling player. If they really play defensively, you can make a bunch of workers and expand really fast. So you want to get to know the people on the ladder, because the further you get up in rating, the smaller the player pool is. So if you can get to know people, you can figure out what their style is and play a counter style.
Yeah, that is a great point. The air is thin up there, right? You're playing basically, if you're right around that rank, you're playing like 400-ish people maximum. It's like you can definitely keep a spreadsheet on the common ones that you're playing. That's great. What were you going to say, Nate?
I think another great thing to add to that too is if you're able to get to that point where you can get into GM and your concern is staying in there, you have to accept that if you make it into there, you earn that spot, you belong there, right? You go into the confidence with those games, and exactly like what Neuro was saying, you take that, and I think this is probably the biggest point that people probably don't talk about, but we all have catalogs in our minds of the people that we play like 2 or 3 times. And when you get to that point where you're like going towards like that mid-ish GM where you're playing like basically the same, you're playing like at least 2 or 3 people almost every single time that you get on for a ladder session. And there is that's a part of, that's where you finally get to have a bit of the competitive fun of it, right? Where people have time to prepare for matchups against opponents when, brackets and whatnot are announced. But you should take advantage of the ability to go down and look for what the weaknesses in those people specifically are going to be and tune builds for them, because being able to do like sort of one trick thing, if you can mechanically brutalize people, that's great. But from what you've described, it's it's not like it's not as simple as, oh yeah, I'm just going to play 10% faster than everyone else and do the same build order every game. So I think finessing your opponents is probably the biggest key to success, because once you get into that rhythm, you're going to have people where you see their name in the loading screen and you're like, this guy, okay, he can do one of 2 things, right? And that's when you go for your build that's going to either punish that really hard. You want to try to kill him early on maybe, or not let him reach that turtle phase. Or you're like, okay, well, I actually have a late game strategy that's going to make this guy look silly. Yeah, and I think that's probably the best thing that you can do is you're going to have to start tailoring your builds and your responses. You can't really go on the autopilot, oh, I just have one build per matchup that I'm working on, if you want to get past, that low GM point.
One thing I would suggest for this is definitely check out, I already mentioned it once tonight, so I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the mental game of poker, if you read the chapter on Inchworm, you are your full range of play, right? So you're peeking into GM. That's the top range of your play. And then let's say you fall down as low as you fall into Masters 2, let's say, right? So that's your full range. What you want to do is have your full range contained within GM based on what you're saying here. So what you actually have to do, the top of your play is good enough for this, basically, right? Like you can get into GM, like the top end of your play is right around there, but the bottom end of your play is not. So that's what you have to work on. That's what you have to bring up. So it's going to be more important, I think, to look at your losses against lower ranked players. Bring up the butt end of your play. Your worst stuff needs to be fixed, because your overall solidity has to move up. You want to be a player that's always in GM. That means that when you're losing, the worst players that you lose against, that's what you need to fix. Your weakest matchup, that's what you need to fix.
You can also distinguish whenever you feel like you're playing well with an account. So Root Neuro is my main account, and I only play on that for my tryhard streams on Tuesdays. The rest of the time I'm on All Might, which is my commentary account. I play better while I'm not talking as I'm playing. And also, it usually takes a few games to get fully warmed up. So you can just start playing on your alt account, see how you're feeling. If you feel like you're strong, you want to push, you want to go hard, you could switch to your main account. And that one, it's going to be easier to manage because you can put your A game onto that account, basically. And your B and C game can be on a practice or training account.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that idea. Juggernaut Jason mentioned, I thought this was a cool one that I've told a few people about. Having 2 accounts and playing Leapfrog on the MMR. It's kind of a cool practice method. I guess that's not exactly what he's asking, but you kind of reminded me of that. All right, Thaniri, good luck with that. I hope that you can make it. Up next, wawajps. Says play ranked on StarCraft Remastered and Legacy of the Void consistently. How would you become a consistent ladder player in StarCraft 1 and 2?
Well, I think my favorite suggestion for trying to get like a habit or something going, or something that you want to be doing regularly. Obviously, I don't know the circumstances of your life or what may or may not be stopping you from playing, but I'll start with the easy one that it can be stressful or you can get anxious about getting on the ladder. And I'll give the same suggestion I would do for something like exercise. Give yourself a very easy, very attainable goal to start and make it something like, I'm just going to play 1 game of Brood War a day, right? If it's the worst game ever, that's it. You're done after that. You're free. It's whatever. If you win, great. You can go do whatever after. And by giving yourself the space to say that you don't have to do a crazy amount of it, but you just want to be doing it somewhat, eventually you'll either you feel motivated to do more of it while you're doing it regularly. But by keeping it simple and easy to reach that goal, you're kind of feeding your own confidence that you can do it by regularly doing it, by limiting the amount of time that it would take out of your day to squeeze it in. So that's just my philosophy with that. Like if I want to get into something, I'm always going to try to start with an easy goal until I get bored of doing it, just 1 game a day, right? And eventually you'll feel the itch. You'll be like, oh yeah, well, I want to play another game. This isn't so bad. And I think that's where you'll start to see the progress come up with putting more time into it.
I love that. That's a really great idea. Like I heard once this thing where like if you want to start working out, make yourself do 1 push-up a day.
Yes, exactly. Right? It's exactly that.
It's like who doesn't have time to do 1 push-up? You can just go do 1 push-up right now. Yeah, it's the same type of idea. It's a really good one. Yeah.
Volume goals are really cool. It's kind of like swimming laps in a pool where this person isn't trying to hit a certain rank. It's just being active on a regular basis. So just setting some bar for yourself of 3 games of each per week, or like Nate said, 1 game a day. That works pretty well too. And then as you get more comfortable with it, as it stresses you out less, there's a natural drive to play it more. I think it's better to set a lower, more achievable bar and then exceed that and be proud of yourself, rather than to have some Herculean resolution or goal. I think that's part of why a lot of people fail their New Year's resolution is they set the bar super, super high. And maybe they can meet that for a week or 2 weeks or so, and then they burn out and then they just stop entirely. It's better, I think, to ramp up. Start small, hit something that you can, and then tune it up from there. Then you can do silly stuff. I did a push-up challenge. Try to do 300 push-ups during the film time of 300 the movie.
Did you do it?
Yeah.
Nice. How long is that movie?
Oh, you can check.
Like, it's 321 push-ups long. Oh, okay.
That's how you measure it. Yeah. Hour 57. So you get plenty of time.
All right. Very, very cool. Well, GPS, good luck with that. Like that. You can definitely do it. The one I think that these are great ideas. Start small. You'll make it. Up next, GrosPapa says, my 2020 StarCraft 2 goal was getting Masters, and I did it. Okay, low Masters 3, but I'm proud of it. For 2021, I'd like to play almost every day and enjoy my ladder games with less anxiety, and maybe go watch an offline event. I hope we can. LNHF guys. So another kind of anxiety. So it's kind of a 2-part. Similar to the last one where it's like play more regularly. but also enjoy the games without anxiety.
One aspect that I think can help people a lot with enjoying the games is being able to appreciate a good loss where your opponent was a good match for you. You had a lot of back and forth. Maybe you didn't win in the end, but you took some good fights. You made some good moves in the early game. Like Nate and I have played each other plenty of times, and sometimes I end up losing, but we had a really fun, entertaining game where the viewers in both chats said, we loved watching that. So that, I think, is, to quote 300, since I just mentioned it, is a beautiful death where you did a match. You didn't come out on top for that particular instance, but it was a good show, and you did get to play StarCraft with someone who is at your level.
Yeah, I like the it harkens to what, like, the anime trope of just overly sportsmanlike battles between like two entities that hate each other to the very core of their being, where even, even when Goku and Cell fight, they can appreciate that it's a hell of a battle. You know what I mean? At no point does Goku or say that, Cell's cheesing him, right? I guess maybe eating people to some degree, but I think that's a part of it. And as far as the anxiety thing goes, this goes right back to the last question that we were talking about. Set yourself, obviously you want to be master. I assume that your goal is to maintain that. So maybe you don't want to start with a goal like playing 1 game a day, but maybe you should tell yourself that, you can decide for yourself what you think you'll need to be able to reach that goal in terms of number of games. And just be very clear with yourself that you don't have to force yourself to put in more time than you think you need to do, right? Don't give yourself this the Herculean feat of being like, well, I think I need to play 10 games a day in order to maintain, Masters 3. And that's, that's a lot. Just accept that if your goal is to be able to put the time in and play those games, be like, okay, maybe if I play 3 games a day and I really focus on what goes wrong in the games that I lose, but I, look for the things I still did well, so you're not just completely beating up on yourself. I think that's a way to establish that healthy habit of getting into the game, not burning yourself out on it, but at the same time appreciating the games that you lose. Because some days if you only play a couple games a day, some days you're going to play and you're just going to lose 3 games, and that's going to be it. But you got to be able to find some fun and joy in that, right? If you want to be able to keep doing that, you have to find something that you can take positively out of that experience for yourself.
You can't you can't actually control whether you win or lose the game, right? There's 2 people involved in that. So, like Nate said, you might, if you're playing like 3 games in a day and you lose all 3, that's going to happen sometimes. What you need to be measuring is your own satisfaction with how you're playing, and don't forget the way that people play. A lot of times they're going to try to be messing you up. A lot of people, that's how they play the game, is try to make you play a bad game. But that's something you need to kind of measure against yourself, and I think that can definitely be enjoyable. Just remember, it's like, what if you queue on the ladder and you get Neuro because you are the only 2 on, right? Are you going to be upset that you lost? You had no control over that. You're playing someone better than you, and they're going to beat you, and that's the way it is, and that's totally fine. So don't try to only get enjoyment out of winning games. Get enjoyment out of if you played well, right? A bunch of the best games I've ever played, I lost. In fact, most of them, right? Because I was playing against someone really better than me, and I gave him a really good game, and I couldn't win. But still, a lot, like the best 3 or 4 games I played this year were all losses. And it kind of feels weird, but it still feels, you're still like, wow, I played really well that game. And that's
so
an important thing to notice. Yeah.
To quote Bruce Lee, your opponent is your teacher, and they point to weakness in your play in this StarCraft context. There was a tryhard session I had, I think 2 weeks ago, where I ended with a 7-game losing streak, but I wasn't mad at myself for my rank because I had a really obvious problem of losing to Terran every single time. And that told me, okay, maybe I just don't have a good plan for this matchup. And that caused me to go to the drawing board. So I was revealed, there's a big weakness in your ZVT play. It's just not robust. I'm taking too much damage to Hellions and Hellbats early on, so what do I need to do to iron out my early game so that doesn't happen? And the next week, after getting a roach opening that made sense where I wasn't supply blocked and I could get roaches in time to defend the Hellbats, I did way better, and I had one match where I fought Epic, and I lasted for like 19 minutes before he killed me, which I didn't win,
Nice.
but he's top 8 Terran on the server or whatever.
He's
So
super good.
that was a moral victory for me.
Nice. GrosPapa, good luck. You can do it. All right, the next one, Xayad, says, the usual goal of playing ladder regularly instead of a few games every week and hopefully reach Masters 1 with all races. I'm Masters 2 with Zerg and Terran and Masters 3 with Protoss for now. Also, I'd like to have more opportunities to help other players improve or give advice/answer their questions. Well, I mean,
Okay, well-
it seems like you're a good rank with all the races, so I'm sure there has to be some learning StarCraft 2 communities out there that you could join for that part. Sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think the easiest dunk for this for me I think is there are some of the best places to just have that kind of discussion where people ask for advice and a lot of people generally politely give it is the all things subreddits. So that's like even on just on Reddit you have Reddit StarCraft, but there's also r/all things Terran, all things Protoss, and there's r/all things Zerg, and you're usually going to find highly specialized discussion about certain types of matchups and races, but it's all going to be tuned to the faction that everybody plays within those spots. And if you want to impart knowledge, that's not a bad place to do it. A lot of people go there seeking advice and constructive criticism, so I think that's a good direction to go. And as for playing ladder regularly and getting Masters 1 with all 3 races, that's a tough one. I guess that one's going to boil it down, I think, time wise, right? If you got to be grinding games with all 3 races, that's a scheduling. I don't have the proper answer for that one, I don't think.
Good luck. Yeah, I don't know if you cheese or macro in this capacity, but I would go back to the conversation we had about Gemini, where you're trying to play the game with limited time. If you're playing all 3 races, that's triple the matchups you have to learn and polish and refine for yourself. So having some broad strokes that are pretty simple and consistent, and you can iron those out, make them better and better over time rather than trying to play different every single time. Whenever I try different builds or styles, it's always kind of scuffed. I'm not as fast. I have to think about every step in play. When if I have a consistent style, like when I first hit GM in Heart of the Swarm, I was playing Roach Hydra in all 3 matchups, and I didn't have to think about my build or my strat. A lot of it was just automatic because I knew after I have my wall off, I'm getting these upgrades, and I'm taking my 3rd at this time, and there was a whole bunch of consistency. Consistency is good.
Yes.
And obviously, I had to run to the bathroom. Sorry. So if I'm repeating you guys, sorry about that. But if you're trying with all 3 races, the big thing that sticks out in my mind is that don't play them all in one day. I think that you would improve more if you play a few games. Like, let's say that you just divide up. Like, maybe you like to play random some, so have a random day and then have a Terran day and a Protoss day and a Zerg day or something like that. Because I think that you can build more muscle memory and think more deeply about the race if you're not forcing yourself to play, 9 different matchups in a row before you get a repeat, right? That's going to make it really hard for you to refine a TVP build.
Yeah, you can also do customs with people as well if you want to work on a particular matchup. A nice method is to just look at your win rates and see what are my lowest win rates, and then just find someone to help you practice that one.
Yeah, really good. Good luck, Xayad. Thanks for sharing that with us. All right, we have Vision. Says, achieve ramen profitability on my startup, favemenu.co, and eventually make enough money to fund and sponsor StarCraft 2 tournaments, events, players, etc. Well, achieving a profitability on a startup, I'm not sure if we're experts on this. I don't have a startup that I haven't achieved profitability, nor have I attempted a startup, so I'm not sure that I can help too much with that. What about you guys? You have any thoughts? Like,
Got some Shark Tank quotes, but yeah, I can't say I've tried to start a ramen business. There's always I don't know. I'd feel pretty dumb just spewing generic business advice, but I think that's an awesome goal to have, though. It's cool that you're doing something like that, right? You're building something up on your own, and keep the confidence up, believe in yourself, and Yeah, I think the goal being able to put up SC2 tournaments and whatnot like that, that's something that can end up snowballing for you, honestly, right? If you're able to carve out a space where, I mean, I don't see many ramen companies advertising on Twitch or on stream. So, that's something to consider as well, right? The angle of that. Maybe you become the ramen guy of StarCraft. You never know. So I guess if you look at it from that perspective, there may be ways to leverage your interests with what you're doing. Because I know I consume ramen. I don't know if some guy was sponsoring a StarCraft player with ramen. I guess that would probably get me to try it. I'm not sure about everybody, but hey, being a ramen guy may not be the worst StarCraft role to have.
Chat has the good ideas here. Talk to students. You're selling ramen. Talk to college students.
Yeah. Well, the whole world is having a tough time. Maybe this is a great time for a ramen company. And I know that there was a ramen company, maybe it was like Cup of Noodles or something like that, that sponsored a bunch of FGC stuff. So, I think it's not a bad idea. Cool. Best of luck to that. Sorry we can't help you more. We're not people that run that type of business. SpiritBuddy posts for us. I want to learn StarCraft more efficiently. I'm not sure how to do that, but I want to read 3 books in 3 months on the subject of learning. Any suggestions? We certainly have talked a lot about books on this podcast, so definitely. There are okay. So you want to learn it more efficiently, and then you also want so you want to read books on learning to learn StarCraft more efficiently. The thing is, I've read a ton of books that are like kind of on learning. Like Tim Ferriss books and stuff have a lot to do with that, especially the 4-Hour Chef. And we've gone over a bunch of books. Nero, you were on that episode where we went over a lot of books. But the thing is, not necessarily every book on learning is going to be right for StarCraft, right? Like, if you're learning about spaced repetition systems, those might not be super useful, even though that's one of the strongest ways to learn things. In StarCraft, I'm not sure that it is.
I like the idea of having a pencil and paper or just typed up write-up of whatever your timings and strategy and everything like that is, and approach the game like a student. I think that makes a lot of your practice really efficient, where you go into a ladder session and you've primed yourself with all that information, so you know when you're getting your supply up, when you're taking your expansions, what your gas timings are, and that kind of thing, rather than just trying to guess at them. Human memory is not very good. It's not perfect. It's actually evolutionarily adaptive for us to delete a lot of memories that our brain deems are not necessary for survival. So a lot of stuff that involves memorizing stuff in video games is going to be deleted, and that's natural and normal. So just writing it somewhere and then checking over that before you play is pretty good.
Yeah,
I've kept a notebook for years, so I definitely agree with that sentiment. What were you going to say, Nate?
So 2 things. First of all, oh my God, I'm so sorry. So yeah, the last guy's post wasn't about ramen at all. I went on the links. Apparently, ramen profitability is a business term about for startups. But I just want to apologize to you, sir, before I give my follow-up answer.
Watch this guy. He just takes a startup and he's like, you know what? Screw this. I'm just going to make a ramen company now. They have some good ideas.
Yeah, his company seems a lot more interesting. It's about it's like digital menu type stuff. But yeah, because you scan QR codes at all the restaurants that are open if you live in a place where they're open. But I think the other thing that helps with at least learning for me is like trying to challenge your own assumptions about stuff when you're going through the learning process. Like my favorite example is like if you're looking at one of your own replays and you're like, this is where I lost the game or this is where I was wrong. Ask yourself why. Ask yourself why you think that. Right? Go through the steps and like a proof in math about, well, this lost me the game because of X impact, right? But there are oftentimes going to be other things that you don't key in on because you kind of have an assumption about where something usually does or doesn't go right or wrong in a particular game. But if you open yourself up to the idea that you can be wrong about the things that you think are wrong in that learning process is very wordy response. I'm sorry, but I think that there's a lot that you can learn from just trying to just walk through your own thought process when you're doing that analysis of your games and whatnot.
Yeah, actually, on that note, if you want to learn efficiently, always look at the first mistake that really changed anything in the game. A lot of people, and I make fun of my chat all the time for this, they'd be like, "Oh, you lost because he's on 9 bases." It's like, okay, he didn't just appear on 9 bases. What went wrong before that? Well, this attack didn't work. Okay, but there's a reason the attack didn't work. What went wrong before that, right? So you try to go and boil it down as early as possible. You play out the early game every game. You play at the late game very rarely. By the time the late game has come, you've already basically done the things that are going to win or lose you a StarCraft game. So it's really important to go as deep down as you can into the first things that went wrong in your game. Did the Hellion run by get 8 drones? Well, you know what? That's way more important than a good Widow Mine hit in the mid game, right? So look for those first mistakes, and you're going to learn a lot quicker because you're going to patch up from the bottom and make your play more solid.
Pre-flop mistakes compound post-flop is a poker phrase, which means if you mess up early, that sets yourself up for a worse position in the mid game and then in the late game in the final streets. If you made an early game mistake, you just have that much fewer to work with. There is the skill in StarCraft of being able to have a sense of who's ahead and who's behind. A lot of people will ask questions about, I don't know what to do against Marine Tank. And if you look at their replay, they're absurdly far behind. Like they're so far behind that they could die to any army that the opponent sent at them. And it just happened to be Marine Tank, but that composition wasn't their problem. It was falling behind. So the question should be, how can I not fall behind in the early game?
And about the books, because I know that was a part of your question. We did a whole episode on like books that make you better at StarCraft, which might help you out. I believe it was Aora and me and Nero. Were we the only three on that one?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, but yeah, check that episode of the Pylon Show. It was definitely one of my favorites. If you're into books and reading, we have a list that's attached to that episode and everything. So yeah, check it out. Excellent. Okay. Up next, Effay says it looks like he has 3 different goals listed. Let me read them out. Lose 50 pounds through proper diet and weightlifting. I'm turning 30 next year and I'm tired of being overweight. I've struggled with poor eating and exercise habits most of my life, but this is the year I'm getting in shape. I'm doing better than I did the last couple of years, but I can definitely do better. Also, improve my Zerg in Brood War. I just started playing this year, so I'm only E rank and have a long way to go. Game is fun, but man ladder is brutal sometimes, lol. Practice guitar more consistently instead of trying to cram less often. All right, where do we start out here? I'll jump on the improve my Zerg in Brood War. Yeah, so I mean, Zerg definitely can be kind of complicated. You need to your E rank, right? So you should probably focus on some mechanical play and work on your micro a little bit. But the thing is, you need to get build orders as well. So if you're E rank, I think you basically have everything left in front of you, which that's good news because you're going to improve a lot. And you probably improve relatively quickly, even if your ladder rank doesn't necessarily move too much. Don't base your improvement off of ladder rank. That's a really important. I'm the same ladder MMR as last year. I'm 10 times better. 10 times. I'm not even joking. It's crazy. So don't base it on that. Like if you're stuck in E rank for a long time, you have a lot to learn still. But I would say maybe check out some of the learning communities that exist within Brood War. We have CPL, Coach Pupil League, is the most popular one. There's also RSL, which is like Rookie StarCraft League. And you will literally get some of the absolute best English-speaking players. A bunch of them are involved and do coaching completely for free out of the goodness of their hearts. So definitely check out CPL, and that's going to help you a lot. You have the whole world ahead of you and so much you can improve. So it's not going to be a problem to follow through with that one.
Yeah, I think this one, my response would be, echoing back to earlier when trying to get into the habits of doing stuff when it comes to that exercising, when it comes to that weightlifting, it's really easy. Really easy. I keep a dumbbell next to my computer. Anytime I'm in a loading screen, if I'm waiting for something to download, if something's going, You can get a little bit in like that. And is this going to fix all of your problems? Absolutely not. No. You may, at 50 pounds is a long way to go. And that's not something that's easy to do. But building little habits like that and making it easy for you to seize small opportunities to put in a little bit of work towards that it's one of those, like we were talking about earlier, it's about kind of setting it up so that you can knock the pins down easily and then slowly ramp it up as, that easy goal you've set for yourself gets boring, right? When you reach the point where you're like, oh, I can very easily just pick up my dumbbell while I'm at my computer waiting for some documents to upload or something. I can just do that. Then you take it to the next step where you're like, okay, well, stand up, put yourself in a spot where you're doing 2, work in a couple of other types of exercises, and you can do a lot of lightweight stuff like that. And then eventually, when you feel like you want that bigger challenge, you can move to something that's larger. You can get something like a big medicine ball, whatnot. Obviously, my perspective from this is going to come from being at home a lot. But if you have access or resources like an apartment gym or something like that, just getting yourself there is always going to be the hardest thing to do. So I'd still say the same thing. Start with a simple goal. Be like, I'm just going to go to my building gym, or I'm going to go to the gym, and I'm just going to do the easiest, most boring, basic workout, right? And that's what you want to do to, I think, get into the habit of doing it.
Yeah. Also, throw out the foods that you don't want to be eating. Don't have them in your house. If they're in your house, you're going to eat them, right? Like that's an important thing. Like occasionally we'll have like a type of, like, I'm a big fan of Whoppers and Reese's cups. And occasionally we'll have some of those in the house. I find myself eating too much. I just throw them away. I'm like, no, because I'm going to eat them if they're there. Like they're so tasty. So I find myself eating them too much. Bye-bye. Throw them in the trash. And then suddenly you can't eat those, right? So I don't know. It's kind of a basic bro approach, I guess. But
this is the beverage police. Open up. All y'all who are drinking soda and beer and wine and stuff instead of drinking water, that's your problem. It's probably the fastest way to put on weight is drinking soda. So being really clear about what are the things that are the biggest hindrance to me getting into shape, and try to cut some of those. Obviously, same thing with having obtainable goals. You don't need to have some super extreme diet shift. Just think about what is my biggest leak in terms of my diet and my fitness, and how can I tune that back a little bit? A lot of people confuse hunger with thirst as well. So if you're not drinking water, sometimes you feel like I need something, and you eat food, which does have some water content in it. But if you drink a glass of water, you might be sustained for a bit longer. So just regularly making sure that you're staying hydrated with water is a really good strat.
Water. Yeah, water is the best.
yeah. Also, one of these is practice guitar more consistently instead of trying to cram less often. Yeah, it's a big difference. Like doing one thing a bunch one day a week rather than doing it like less but every day. It's a huge difference with how much you learn. Like it's better if you're playing guitar for 3 hours one day on the weekend, and then you change that to, I don't know, 20 minutes a day. It's less time overall, but you'll probably actually get better at it. And I think for things like this, if you have a goal like this, it's important to set a time. I find for me personally, having things scheduled, like you guys were talking about, like having your morning routine, Nate, like that type of thing, I think is really valuable, because if you're just trying to fit it in somewhere, no one ever makes time for anything. Like you always have an excuse or something like that. But if you just have a time where you're like, no, right now this is what I do. I go play guitar for 10 minutes in my room, and that's it. And there you go. Suddenly you're doing it more regularly, and the 10 minutes might turn into 20. Who knows? And suddenly you're dose with the guitar. And
I should play my viola more. There's a inertia factor there where if I haven't played it for a long time, I don't really feel motivated to play it because I know I'll be rusty. So just put in some time. Accepting things being scuffed is a very personal thing that I'm trying to work on. I know there's always going to be some critique. There's going to be some flaw with every single thing you do, from playing StarCraft to doing a podcast to making some kind of video to playing an instrument to working on your fitness. It is always kind of scuffed. And if you walk around always worried that, well, if it's not perfect, I shouldn't do it, then you won't do shit. You're going to have to go in there and make some stuff happen that isn't perfect. Maybe you play some bad notes. That's how it goes. Maybe you totally mess up and you detonate all your banelings and you lose the game. Maybe you get supply blocked for a minute and you're like, I thought I made a supply depot. And you look at your SCV and it's like stuck somewhere. That happens. So just accepting that stuff is scuffed and being okay with that and not letting the negative comments here and there get to you too much. Say you make a YouTube video and you're pretty proud of it. Like, it's a pretty good video. You feel like it was a good game with some valuable lessons to be learned. There will always be a couple comments saying, oh, this is invalid. You can't post this video because the opponent threw. Like, they didn't even play well, so you can't post this. And it's like it's a GM player who's losing, but the people in the peanut gallery who are criticizing say it's not good enough, so you shouldn't have done it. If you're always looking for that perfect performance, you're always looking for that perfect moment to do something, you will not get shit done. To quote Voltaire, the perfect is the enemy of the good.
Yeah.
Just try to do something that's good or at least decent and keep moving. Momentum is the key.
Yes.
100% agree with that. Very good. Best of luck there, Effay. A long list. No, you can do it. Some drunk Canadian throwing some out there for us. StarCraft 2 related. I want to play Terran again, but I've been told by my doctor I need to keep my salt levels down, especially in teams. In other words, advice on not giving into my emotions and flaming my teammates for keeping me trapped in Plat 1. And he also wants to grow his tournaments and events. He's been putting on a lot of events we talk about in This Week in StarCraft. And life related, he says, overcome my imposter syndrome by reaching out more often, seeking opportunities. I approach potential clients, potential sponsors, SC2 pros, and personalities, and be more conscientious of those around me and their considerations.
Those are awesome goals. Those are awesome goals to have, right? I think that a lot of people who play StarCraft, I myself especially, you don't enjoy getting salty or upset, right? It's a reaction that comes out of something that you are, right, being triggered by that's happening in the game, right? You feel like you're losing, you feel like you made a mistake, right? Or you feel like you're losing a lot. And back to what Neuro was saying earlier, I think whenever you can have, and it's very hard to do this, but when you can catch yourself in that mood, when you can realize, oh, I am spiraling. Oh, I'm getting tilted. I think one of the best things that you can do is take that moment to try and stand up, walk around. One of the things that I like to do is by my computer, I like to have photos, people I care about. I've got my Christmas card right here on my desk. I keep this. This is my new one right here. It's my cat. It's my dog. It's my lovely girlfriend. And if I'm playing a game or I'm doing something or I'm getting stressed out, I've got this big poster of a wave on the wall in front of me, and I try to have some cues that can kind of get to you, because at least for me, I know that when I get really stressed out or upset, I become very tunnel visioned on whatever it is that's bothering me. So you kind of need to, if you can, put a couple of things around or have a way to just remind yourself, or snap yourself out of it, so to speak, or distract yourself from whatever it is that you are, tunneling really hard on. But there's not an easy answer for it, but at its base, try to work those breaks in and don't slam that play again key. But obviously, you have to be able to catch yourself in that situation, and it's okay to accept that sometimes you won't be able to do that.
Anger is normal as well. So for you to be tilted or upset is okay, and that's human. And you need to do something with anger. Like, it's an emotion that wants to go somewhere. It wants to move your body in some direction. So just being mindful about where that anger is going. Sometimes, say I go to Australia server is my favorite example. I'll have an Australia server match. It's fucking obnoxious. I take a second. I go outside to my balcony, get some fresh air, and just fuck. And then I feel better after that. And I go back in and I can start the new match afresh. I already released that energy that I was feeling, and I can just go into the next one.
Another piece of this is to grow tournaments and events. But I think that could be related also to what you say down here with your life-related one, to overcome imposter syndrome by reaching out more often, seeking opportunities, approaching potential clients, sponsors, StarCraft 2 pros, personalities, stuff like that. So imposter syndrome is definitely something that like a lot of people have to deal with a lot of the time. Um, I mean, I've read a lot of things about it. So I'm not like because it seems like it's a huge problem in the world. Uh, I think like one thing to keep in mind is that most people like feel something like that where they're like, do I really belong here? Am I real? And let me tell you, as someone that is continuing to get older, and like for instance, I've been in esports a long fucking time, a very long time, and let me tell you, most people in most industries, including esports, don't have any fucking idea what they're doing. So that weird imposter thing that you're feeling, it's like don't worry about it. All of us feel like kind of lost in the dark in a lot of ways. I don't know if that's helpful at all, but no, I don't know. Go ahead, guys. Save me here.
Some people in the chat are asking, what is imposter syndrome? Just as a preface, I'm not a licensed cognitive therapist. I have a bachelor's in brain science, but don't take this as expert advice. But my layperson's explanation of what imposter syndrome is it's basically self-doubt that is so strong to the point where you feel like you're not actually good at anything you do, and it's pretty soon everyone's going to find out, and you're just some person who's been faking it the whole time, but you're not actually valuable to whatever profession you have or whatever group you're in, that kind of a thing. And it's not true. It's more of a voice in your head. A way that I would describe it is, like those shoulder angels that you have in movies and shows and stuff, where there's the devil on your shoulder that's telling you to do bad stuff, and there's the angel. This would kind of be, the devil is telling you that you're not good enough and that you're actually bad and terrible. And the more you listen to that voice, the more powerful it becomes. So what you need to do is you need to balance that with the angel voice on the other side that believes in you, that says, you know what? I think I can do this. I might not succeed the first time, but I'm going to just put some faith in myself. I'm going to put some faith in the process and my ability to learn and to grow, and I'm going to go for it. I'm going to wing it. I'm going to ship this thing at 80%. I'm going to play in this online tournament even though I'm not favored to win. I'm going to play a ladder game even though I'm probably going to get cannon rushed and I might lose some games, and that's fine. So just try to build up that voice of hope, that voice of belief in yourself to offset that. Because if you trust that voice, a lot of people believe that negative imposter voice to be them and to be truth, when you should be skeptical of that. If you have this thought in your head, I'm not good enough, well, I actually doubt that. I doubt that doubt. What if I actually can do this thing and that voice is wrong? And then you try to build up that competing narrative. Don't give in to the voice of doubt. It will lead you astray. Yeah. You can do shit.
That would I'll just quickly finish with another great. I love a lot of the stuff that Arnold Schwarzenegger puts out there, but in one of his speeches that I like to watch a lot, he talks about how, one of the big keys to success is you don't let your fear of failure keep you from making decisions about the things that you want to do in your life, because almost everybody who tries to do something has to fail at some point. In StarCraft, you have to fail to get better at the game. Nobody just wins. You have to, if you want to get better at the game, you have to lose, and you have to look at what made you lose or what didn't work and build off of that. You can't, the expectation should be that you won't always, hit the ball out of the park, but sometimes it is just enough to just get a little bit of it. And that's not going to happen if you're not trying. So believe in yourself, and it's okay to fail. So it's not the worst thing in the world to try and do something and have it not work out.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. You guys said it way better than I did. My God, I had my foot in my mouth on that one. Good luck, some drunk Canadian. I think it'll work out. And like I mentioned, I think that if you do things like approach potential sponsors, approach StarCraft 2 pros and personalities and things like that, that's going to enhance your tournaments and events, which is the other thing that you asked about there. So yeah, overcome that pesky imposter syndrome. Best of luck. All right, and next one we have M5M. Hi, I'm a mid-20s StarCraft 2 Terran player. I've been playing on and off for about 6 to 7 years now. I played some Brood War and watched a lot of Brood War. I'm struggling to make it to Masters on the EU server, and I'm currently hard stuck at less than 4,000 MMR in Diamond.
This year, I played about 2 to 3 games every other day for 3 to 4 months and made no progress. Even though I watch a lot of content like Maru/TY/Hero Marine and keep up with all the latest Euthermal videos. Before anyone criticizes the lack of game time, I want to emphasize that I engage in a lot of mindful game self-evaluation, and honestly, the game is really just tilting. I'm frustrated and upset, honestly, and tired, especially since I once made low masters and hots, but can't seem to get back to masters. Anyways, to make my plea for help more specific, how am I supposed to play TVT? It seems like such a stupid matchup with all the Reaper shenanigans, Raven bullshit, and Turtle mech. Quite a build-up.
Nathanias, take it away.
Okay, well, first of all, you know what? TVT is a bullshit matchup, and this is possibly the most sober perspective I could have from that, because it's been a little while since I played a TVT. There's nothing about it that I can logically say, yeah, this one feels fun to play all the time, and that's fine. I actually really like the way that you talked about your process, what you've been doing and trying to learn. I think your post makes me think about Maynard's streams, and I really like the way that Maynard does his improvement streams, because when he plays, I don't know if he still does this all the time, but he had this series where before he would start playing, he would have a couple of goals and be like, these are our goals, right? Give yourself goals that aren't winning the game, because like Artosis was saying, you can work on the bottom end of your play, and you could go into, even if you're only going to have time to play a few games and it hurts to lose, you can at the very least check off your box and be like, did I get supply blocked less than 20 seconds total in the whole game? It doesn't matter if you lost to some cheese at 7 or 8 minutes. Is the reason, were you able to give yourself a reason to lose the game other than the thing that you think you're bad at, right? Working on cornerstones or small blocks of your play, and not letting the outcome dictate, what you're getting out of the experience. Because if you can build on the small things, eventually those are the things that add up and just make you a better player overall. And at that, with time, the wins will come. And at least, I think putting the stress onto something other than just getting that victory screen at the end is a great way to help progress and improve at the game.
Great.
I would give the reminder as well that many people, they queue into the StarCraft ladder expecting things to go according to plan, and then they are brutally upset every time they're set off their plan scheme for whatever their matchup is. Everyone is experiencing this. The objective of your opponent is to set you off balance from the very start and to annoy the shit out of you until you leave the game. Many people, they don't realize that this is the format of StarCraft, and then they get really upset when their opponent is playing in a very obnoxious way, and then they end up having to leave the game because it can do their plan. This is the game. You have correctly figured out what is going on. And all of your opponents are also dealing with similar bullshit in all of their matches. So, welcome to the experience. If you can just list this as one of the facts of the battlefield that you cannot change, then I think you're going to be less rustled by it. It's sort of like you're a warrior and you're traveling from a place to place, and the wind is cold and it's blowing right in your face. That is the fact of this journey that you are on. You cannot change this unless you have the power of the wind god or something, so you may as well just accept it. StarCraft is tilting. Fact. Accept it.
Agreed with that. Best of luck, M5M. All right, Zip brings to us fan for 10 years and excited for the 11th year of StarCraft 2. Happy New Year. You've all dedicated a lot of time to being good at StarCraft, plus producing huge amounts of StarCraft content. There's only so much time, so do you ever feel pulled towards other things you want to become better at? Well, that's not really a New Year's resolution, so I didn't. Well, appreciate the question, but that's not really a resolution, right?
But so I can say yes.
Yes.
I would like to have played through Cyberpunk, but I only have an hour in that, and I still haven't finished Doom Eternal and Halo. I wanted to do the remastered Halo 1. So, yes.
Yeah. I would like to become better at other things, but I only truly, what you actually want to do by what you do. Just a little little word for the wise for people. A lot of people say like, I want to do this and I want to do that. If you really wanted to do it, you'd fucking do it. And that's why I play StarCraft all the time, because that's what I really want to do, and I force time into it. All right, so Feardragon leaves our last one over on Team Liquid. Hi, first time fan, long time viewer. I have a resolution to dramatically increase UpATreeZelda's hatred of Twitch chat, but not sure if it's too ambitious of a goal. I feel like I did a pretty good job with this in 2020, but in 2021, it'll be hard to top how much I can make Sal miserable. Love any advice you have. Thanks. Anonymous Twitch chatter. Well, it's you, Feardragon, but thank you for the memes. All right, let me find our Discord channel. We have a bunch in there as well. So just a second. All right, here we go. I'm in our Discord now where people dropped some. Blechfaust brings us, I'm a P1 Terran on EU that peaks into D3 at the beginning of every new season, but drops back down to Platinum 1/Platinum 2 afterwards. My macro is pretty good so far. Some people call me the Terran-Zerg because I spam a lot of CCs. If I got too much minerals instead of production, but I'm already working on this. I think my next big step will... my next big step up will happen if I would be better at scouting, but I'm having huge problems with that. I'm sending my scouting SCV and Reaper from time to time. I hear stuff like, you've seen this and that, but just because something was in my vision doesn't mean I processed what I saw. I'm kind of blind for a long period of time, especially if my Reaper died, or if I was able to save him. Most loved scenarios if Zerg went up to GG cows, ultras, or the Protoss has too many storm wizards and Colossi and stomps me with that. I just started to play Zerg off-raise to learn what a Zerg usually has when the Reaper arrives. TLDR, I'm bad at scouting, want to improve it. What are the first two things I should work on? Okay, that was a long explanation. One thing I would love to say about scouting, and as you're getting better at scouting, a lot of people just send scouts at times that they see pros send scouts, and they think that that's like means that you're not going to die to something. When you're scouting, there should be something you're looking for, and you're checking if it's there. Okay, that's the important thing to get into your head, right? Like, if you're scouting and you're like, I need to know if DTs are going to come, go look for that, right? I need to know if he's going robo. Is he going to have 4 gates right now? Like, you should have something that you are actually actively looking for when you go to scout. That's actually what pros are doing. It's just you see the scout timing and you're sending your scout. So your scout timing might end up being differently. You might scout in a different way, but definitely have it in your head what it is that you are looking for because you're afraid of that or because you want to see that or whatever.
Has the Zerg started their hive yet? How many bases does the opponent have? Oh man, that is a very important question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And the questions like that, and scouting like that, there's all sorts of different things that can give you that information. And that's an excellent point, right? Because some people will send out, and you might be a player where you're like, I like to be really greedy, right? You're talking about building lots of command centers. Maybe at the start of the game, early aggression is something that you worry about. Maybe your build order is a little bit greedy. You send that worker out because you want to know, the reason why you send that out is because there's something that you are going to want to be informed on whether or not it's happening, right? You can assume a lot of things in StarCraft. That's at high level StarCraft. There's tons of assumptions being made every moment without scouting information because you're looking for certain pieces of information that tell you things. Like when you send that SCV out early against a Terran, where are they building their barracks? Is there a barracks there, right? You don't just send it there because you're like, oh, what's going on? There's a couple of things that you have a list that you want to check. Like, is it a 1 gas opener? Is it 2 gases? If I'm being proxied, does he have both of the gases? Because is this going to be something like Marines? Is this going to be a Marauder type rush? But you should always, if you're just sending the worker out willy-nilly or just scanning at like a random time, because if pros do it, this is a trap that a lot of people fall into because there are some things that you can't just learn from watching pro games because they do things a little too well is also worth considering. If you're in Gold League, your Zerg opponent, when you send the SCV, be like, oh yeah, well, Maru sends his SCV to the natural, sees the hatchery and sends it home, right? Because he knows, oh yeah, that's a hatch first. But not everybody that you play is going to build their hatchery at the perfect time. And you might check and be like, oh my God, there's nothing there. But the drone is like still leaving where the hatchery is. And then your SCV doesn't go up the main, right? And you can miss stuff like that. So I think being very deliberate with your scout, maybe over micro your scout if you have to, just to get a feel of what you think you need to be looking for. And the easiest way that I would follow that up with is, what are you losing to, right? What do you usually lose to when you play Terran versus Protoss? Is it a Zealot drop? Well, in your replays, what time does the Zealot drop usually hit? What would you need to do to see that? Is it putting spotter units out on the map? Is that something that can help you see those things before they come? Those are the kinds of questions you have to ask yourself. But StarCraft is a game of constant scouting and piecing together information. Like, if you're not sure whether they're making that move into Ultras, has the Zerg attacked you yet? Have you attacked them recently? Have they built a big army? Did you kill a lot of units? If you haven't done a lot of damage to them, or they've been sitting back, and then it's a high likelihood that, they're going to be a little bit on the greedier side with rushing up that tech or taking lots of bases and stuff like that.
Great. Yeah, I think that's some good stuff to work on there with your scouting. Absolutely. Good luck with that. Next New Year's resolution we have in here is from Apoptosis. He says, Twitch partnership. Deal with that one, boyos.
Twitch.tv/Apoptosis808. The guy has been busting his ass all year. He's fantastic. He's got a boatload of charisma. He's one of the most gregarious streamers that I've ever seen. Makes you feel really welcome. He responds well to questions, advice, backseat gaming, stuff like that. He's very patient with people. He's also really creative. He's the dungeon master for our D&D campaign. I'm in one with Pig and Ash of Cockeyed Gaming. That's every Thursday, 9 p.m. Pacific time. We have a fantastic D&D campaign. We try to keep things really simple and local. So think about a D&D campaign that's closer to The Mandalorian than to the Star Wars saga films, where our characters are pretty low level, pretty simple, which also means that if you don't know a ton about Dungeons and Dragons, you can still basically figure out what's going on. So highly recommend his channel. He's working through Masters. I think he got Masters 2 for the first time recently. The Goblin King on Twitch, Apoptosis.
It's got a great ID, I gotta say. Love that ID. What is required for a Twitch partnership? That was a great sell for Apoptosis and for people to go follow him. I guess that has to be one of them, right? Following and like maybe the amount of viewers that you get.
Yeah, it's the biggest thing that they look at is like average viewership over a period of time, as far as like viewership growth and whatnot goes. And you can be a little bit under, and if you're on an upward trajectory, that's something that can help. I think it's somewhere like 75 or like 100 viewers. Okay. But they look at stuff like chat activity, whether people are coming and staying and things like that. General advice for anybody that that wants to do the streaming, the big things always hammer home: be consistent with your schedule, be consistent with your content, be predictable. You want to be the person, you want to be a content creator that someone will get up and be like, oh, it's noon. Oh yeah, Apoptosis is on, right? And I like watching that guy. He's probably going to be on because it's a weekday and it's X time. And be predictable as well in your content to some degree. Managing expectations. If your D&D show is really popular, you just have to accept that when you're not doing that show, you're probably not going to pull the same numbers, but you still want someone to be like, oh yeah, today he's doing this. Yeah, I want to see that. And those are the building blocks, I think, of any channel. But there's no silver bullet just yet for that.
I think they've changed the Twitch partner requirements some since I got it quite a few years ago. There's also, I think there's a person, like a physical Twitch employee, who looks at your channel and checks your your chat culture and how you present yourself. Are you a good example on the platform? Because if you're like riding the edge of TOS all the time, it's going to be a harder sell for them to give you partner than if you have a positive and uplifting chat culture and that kind of thing. So it's not just about you and your metrics. It's also about your channel and the kind of example that you set on Twitch. Influence is really important. I think that as broadcasters, we can all do better to just like try to think about the example that we set, because other people, either consciously or unconsciously, they echo a lot of what we say. They treat streamers as experts many times when we're really not. It's just a person who has a nice video and microphone setup and they're saying words, but they're just a person. So be aware of that. What you say impacts other people.
Cool. Good luck, Apoptosis. Up next, we have Maynarde. Says, get back on the wagon, stop eating quarantine diet, and get down to 85 kilograms, and get masters all races. That is a set of resolutions right there. Well, Maynard, I think the way that you practice, like Nate mentioned earlier, with the goals and stuff, is a fantastic way to approach practicing, to actually have specific things you're working on each day. That's something that I do as well. I mean, I don't really put them up and like you do and follow them in that way, but it's something that I take notes on daily. So I definitely think that that type of approach is one that long term is going to continue to give you a lot of growth in your skill for sure. And you've gotten a lot better, a lot better. A few years ago, Maynard was like not all that good, but he has improved quite a bit.
The most improved award.
Maynard,
Love
you're
you,
a
Maynard.
god. You can hit all the
Strength.
goals. You've got an extremely strong sense of will. I have no doubt you can accomplish all of your goals. You based god.
Yeah.
He has a wagon. I didn't know that. That's pretty cool. I did have to look up the kilograms to pounds with my American brain. So
Oh, really?
85 kilograms. What mysterious tome is this?
Yeah,
That was a tough thing when I left America. Like I switched myself over. I use kilograms and Celsius now, and meters too.
Ooh.
Once you get the hang of it, it's not that hard.
They're
For kgs, just it's 2.2. So it's a little over double whatever that number is for kgs to pounds. Like it's yeah.
Any other advice for Maynard, guys?
Drink water. Going back to that point, if you're trying
Lots
to
of
manage your
water.
food, make sure you stay hydrated as well. Water is really BIS. And that best in slot is WoW jargon. But Bruce Lee, he was big into water, just thinking about how it absorbs heat. You can actually regulate your temperature better if you're more hydrated because water has a very high heat capacity, meaning that it takes a lot of energy for you to either lose your body temperature or gain body temperature just by being more hydrated. And it fights fatigue as well. Many times people feel fatigue because they're dehydrated. If there's a water sponsorship, I would totally be on that.
Please.
I
Oh my
recommend people
God.
drinking tap water and stuff. This broadcast sponsored by the City of X Tap Water.
Right. Maynard, good luck, man. We know you can do it. Next one we have from DayvieSam. I want to unlock the Predator and Dark Voice portraits by reaching 1,000 1v1 and team ladder matches as Zerg, Protoss, Terran, and Random. I've gotten closer this year. So do you have to do 1,000 matches with each of those?
Yes, it is. Nothing harder. There's nothing that takes more time, I don't think, except maybe the mastery ones for co-op. Yeah, I mean, at that point, you just gotta. I guess getting into the rhythm of playing every day is probably more important than having big like grinding sessions. But because it's a volume, like as a volume goal, yeah, there's that is a really hard one. I just working on establishing the regularity of playing the games and maybe focusing on the individual races, like Artosis was saying. When you play, like if you're going to play on a day, you're going to play as one race. Just get your wins for Terran in one day. Try to get your wins for Protoss or Zerg in the other day. But it's I love that. I love that goal though, because it's something that's a little bit outside the ordinary. Oh, I just want to get better at StarCraft. It's like, I want to get this really cool portrait. But yeah, it's just a lot of time.
It kind of hurts me to say this, but if you cheesed, you could get it a lot faster because you're basically farming wins. You're not necessarily farming MMR or rating or whatever. So a cheese match, if you have, say, a one-base oriented strategy, that's going to resolve itself either for a win or a loss within 10 minutes. Whereas if you're trying to play for the big 5 to 6 base macro, you're looking at 20 to 30 minute matches.
And those are going to be more tiring for you as well. So it's actually much easier with the cheese ones. Is it wins? You have to get wins for it?
I think it's wins. Yes, it's a
Okay.
Dark Voices. You got to get it like 1,000 wins with each race and random or something. Like it's crazy.
All right. Well, good luck with that, Davey. Sounds very, very difficult to do. That's like so many. That's 4,000 wins, and with all those races, like
Yeah.
you guys definitely don't have those portraits, right?
No.
No.
Yeah.
I have Selendis, and I have the Queen of Blades one for the 1,000 Zerg. It was really cool back in the day when it felt like it meant a whole lot to have the 1,000 wins. It just showed like a badge of how much experience you had. Maybe it was 2 or 3 years ago, but I mentioned it would be cool to have more of those, like just volume-oriented portraits that they add to the game. Seems pretty simple to add in. That just shows how much you've played whatever your main race is.
I wish they had put in like insane ones, like a 5,000 win and a 10,000 win portrait, because there's some people that would have those. It'd be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
In Brood War, I think the top portrait is like 5,000 wins with your race, if I'm not mistaken. And it's something like that. It's huge to get the BC portrait. It's like, and I play a lot of StarCraft 1. I am so fucking far away from that portrait still. It's actually, I'm like, how does anyone have this right now? How there are people with it. It's like, you have to win those games. Good luck. Good luck, Davey. Up next, Hallelujah. This is our wonderful timestamper for the Pylon Show. Says, I would like to develop my own channel more and expand on my involvement in other channels, shows, and podcasts, while also finishing streamlining my timestamp system. So, streamlining your system, you're definitely the best timestamper. So I feel like I can't really help with that. The first thing, yeah, I have no idea how to streamline what you already do better than everyone else. But to develop your own channel more and expand the involvement in other channels, shows, and podcasts. What do you guys think on that?
Collaboration is tough. That's one of the things I want to be better at this year too. There's always a point of friction in no one has the exact same schedule. So you're going to have to flex a little bit, or they are, to both be on for the same kind of thing. And inertia is really strong too. I think most people want to just keep doing what they're doing, grind whatever content has worked for them in the past. Anytime you go out of your comfort zone, you collaborate with someone, there's some risk there. So ship it at 80%. Maybe it's not the most ideal time. Maybe you don't have the most ideal amount of energy, but the collaboration is oftentimes worth it. You have that stress ahead of time of sorting everything out, but if you can get it going, it can be really beneficial to both of you. And you grow a lot through collaboration as well.
Cool.
Yeah, I think consistent. Sorry, I was just gonna say that the consistency, big thing, and then yeah, with the collaboration, you're just reaching out to people. I mean, if you're establishing, or you have like genuine friendships with people that you're like, hey, do you want to do something with me? Rarely are you going to get some sort of super negative response out of them, right? If someone says no, it's not the worst thing in the world, but don't be afraid to reach out to your friends or people that you know and be like, hey, I see that you play this game. I also play this. So do you want to do something together sometime, or do you want to cast like matches of our viewers playing each other in StarCraft or something, right? Ways like that.
The BlizzCon before last, Loco was working on that for himself, the just ask approach. When it came to working with Blizzard and things like that, a lot of times you would have that voice of doubt that says, well, they might not want to do this and maybe I shouldn't bother them. But he said, well, just ask. What's the worst thing that happens? They say, no, you can't do that. And then they move on. It didn't hurt your reputation with them in any capacity. If anything, it looked like you were excited and you wanted to be more involved and make something happen. So asking, even if you get a no, can still work as a positive for you.
Totally. Stuff. Hallelujah. Best of luck. Next one we have Chaobaozi. Finish studying, getting a job, and finally participate in this adult life I keep hearing of. Well, while finishing studying and getting a job are both important goals and resolutions, participating in this adult life, don't just necessarily do what society thinks that you should do. Try to enjoy yourself and continue to do what you like. You don't necessarily need to fit in or anything like that. Like when I hang out with other adults via the children or my wife or something that are like my age, my life looks awfully weird to them. I yell at video games, right? But it's like, I'm happy. You gotta. So make sure you're not just going down a path someone told you to. I think.
Finding contentment is important as well. It's pretty much impossible to know perfectly what your ideal career path is. Most of the time, we're taking a best guess and doing something that we think is pretty good, and also with the limited opportunities that we can actually do. So just continuing to move forward. Also, making sure that you keep space for yourself. One thing that can happen in a work environment is people will ask more and more of you until your plate is over full. So you need to also be able to say no when people are trying to get you more involved, if you know that for personal reasons you're already doing enough. So being able to figure out what your limits are and to protect yourself whenever you're in that work environment so you don't overdo it. You don't want to work so hard that you hate your life. That's the thing, right? Is with your career and with your growth, you're trying to work hard enough that you can improve, you can grow, you can learn, you can gain new skills. But at the same time, you don't want to work so hard that you hate what you're doing and you're always out of energy. So try to strike that balance somewhere in the middle.
Okay. Good luck to you. I'm sure just keep going to school and you'll finish your studying, and that'll help you to get your job. We have Red Gunner Guy bringing in upload a new YouTube video twice a week, Wednesday, Saturday. Upload new Instagram post every Monday. Finish going to Diamond to get 3,300 MMR for all 4 races on the NA server. Turn and Protoss is already done, currently on Zerg. Not fail any modules in school. Work out at least 2.5 times a week, totally 10 times a month. Play 21 ladder games a week, which means 3 a day. Actually have a sleep schedule for a full month. Cast at least once a month. On a side note, I need to figure out how clean I want my room to get. It's pretty infinite on how clean can clean be. Yeah, that's what I got so far. Thanks for asking. All right, so it looks like he has a lot of goals with mostly content creation, a little bit of playing in there, a little bit of healthiness. Sounds like, to me personally, when I see this, sounds to me like someone that needs to get up early each day. If you have this type of list, getting up early is actually very important. You're not going to find a lot of people that do that get up at noon. So that might be something that can help you out by getting up early and getting on an actual schedule. Get into a rhythm with these things where you have certain set times that you do them. That habits really help especially when you have this much stuff.
This to me looks like a shotgun approach as well, where it's a whole bunch of different stuff. And if you didn't hit all of them, you could still count it as a win if you do connect with some of them. Like maybe you don't do every single one on this list, but if you did 3, that's an improvement, and that's cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Well, good luck, Red Gunner Guy. It is a lot. And don't forget, like, when you're developing new habits and stuff, sometimes it's better to just do one at a time for a little bit, right? Like, if all this is a little bit much, what's the easiest thing here? Upload a new Instagram post every Monday. You can do that, man. Like, go out, take 3 pictures, write the stuff, and just put them in a folder. Look at that. You're going to feel great. One thing at a time. Best of luck. All right. Schemo has graduate, then get a job, develop a better sleep schedule / stick to a workout routine, B rank in Brood War as Protoss, upload to YouTube / stream more frequently to generate content, TM. What do you guys think on this?
Shape it at 80%. Don't get too hung up on every YouTube video. It doesn't need to be perfect.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. And like and the same thing with the sleep schedule, with the workout routine, start with easy goals, ease yourself into it, work your way into it, let everything kind of flow, and don't put yourself in a position where you're trying, where you've got your test that you're studying for, or you've got something you're working on, and you want to get your Brood War ladder games in, and you're like, oh, I don't have time to exercise. That's when you if you want to get that process going, if you keep things simple and don't give yourself too much to do, because even these goals are all awesome, great, ambitious, but trying to jump into all of them at the same time can be really overwhelming. So key in on the ones that are going to be the most important for you, schedule your study time, but maybe there's some great connections between physical health and mental health as well. You could try to plan it out to be like, all right, well, when I sit down to study, I'm going to do 5 push-ups before I do my studying, right? Something really easy, something that you couldn't possibly give yourself like an easy excuse to not do, and then try to let that build. And if you can, schedule it with this number of things that you want to do, obviously scheduling most of the time to the more important things.
I can jump in on the B rank in Brood War as Protoss. There's 2 ways. There's the cheater way and the legit way. The cheater way would be just make 2 gateways in the middle of the map and send zealots. And that will literally get you B no matter what, not because you're good, but because it's so hard to stop. I got almost to A rank with that, and my win rate against Protoss was 0%. So I lost every PvP with that, but still, it's like very high B I got with it. It's like if you just send zealots, most people are going to die if you make them early. But that's the cheater way. You don't want to do it that way. Work on creating probes. Get your probe production down. Okay, make sure that you can make 45 probes as soon as 45 probes can be made, and you will get to B rank just through macro. Protoss is a very macro intensive race, and that is the most important skill to have as a Protoss player. Don't worry about all your different micro techniques. Protoss units are strong, and it's a race where you just need to make sure you've spent your money. So if you work on that specifically, you'll be able to get to B rank.
The 2021 New Year's resolution Pylon Show. The host and the guests agree. Just cheese, dude.
Just cheese. Just cheese.
You're looking for. You just want that purple border. No problem. We got you.
There's a difference between having a goal to improve and having a goal to win.
Yes. Is this a long-term thing? Is it a short-term thing? Good luck, Schemo. You can do it. We have Body V, which is a Pylon Show artist in here saying, get swole, go hiking unironically, get more swole, try more restaurants around the city, swole. So I take it she wants to get ripped, right? That's what swole is, right? Swole is the new word for rip.
Yeah.
Okay, which is the new word for shredded, which is the new word for make my muscles bigger. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not swole at all. So, and I don't go hiking.
You just gotta go. You just gotta go for it, man. That's all you can do. You just gotta go for it. I mean, I was saying earlier, I put on some weight. I've got a belly, but you can still take time to lift. You can still keep the arms together, right? Somewhat. But it's about getting into the habit for it, right? Getting into the habit. If you want to go hiking and you're going to be doing a lot of cardio like that, find somewhere that you can go for walks where there's hills. Maybe you can build up from something like that, a little bit extra resistance. Something that's great for your legs as well. You can do calf raises. It's one of my favorite exercises. You can do calf raises almost anywhere. You're on any sort of curb or step. You just have only the front halves of your feet on top of those curbs, and you can just lift yourself up a little bit. You could do it on almost anything. These are the types of things, you're getting, especially if you're trying to get them legs swell. That's my boy. That's my boy right there.
Yeah.
Wow. You live somewhere you can get big weights still. That's impressive. I'm very jealous of Neuro.
Look at that bicep.
He is absolutely ripped. He is shredded.
Just do as Neuro does.
He's got the strongest mental game out of anybody.
We are going to pump you up.
Any tips for trying new restaurants, more restaurants around the city? I've never seen a resolution quite like that one. What do you guys think? I actually have a hard time trying new restaurants because I find like 1 or 2 places I like, and then I never want to not go there because they have good food.
What year are you guys from? The restaurants are closed.
They're not closed here.
They're not closed here. No, I mean, you pretty much do anything out here. But,
where are you from, Neuro? What the?
Seattle?
Never heard of it. Don't know.
Seattle is very restriction abiding. They're like super particular about distancing and things like that. People are very standoffish and grumpy. I think Seattle people were already grumpy and they dislike other people, so 2020 is sort of a dream year, I think, for some, where it's like, yeah, I didn't want people close to me anyway, and now they're actually keeping their distance.
Right. Well, I guess once everyone gets vaccinated, you can try more restaurants around the city because it seems like your area.
I mean,
more likely
there's so in a normal situation though, when I in the neighborhood I lived in LA was like there was like tons of restaurants and stuff all over the place, and I kind of had the same question because I was going to the one or two places that I thought I liked more than anything else. But I think if you have to give yourself the ability to say that you will get up and leave a place if you like walk in, you're like, oh, look at the menu, and then like, oh, do you want to order something? It's okay to be like, no. Like if you have the fear, you're like, if your concern is, oh, I don't want to do this, then I would say find the nearest place by you that you haven't been, that you think might have something that you like. It doesn't need to be guaranteed. Tons of places have their menus online, but for me, I made a goal to be at least once a month. I would try to go have dinner somewhere that I could walk to that I had not eaten at before. And there were a lot of places that I tried that I was like, well, yeah, okay, something here sucks, but at the least you could get like a little appetizer or something if you feel awkward about going in and sitting down. But that's something that I would say, right? Like I kept it easy, keep it attainable, but yeah, you got to be willing to also be like, you have to accept that sometimes you're going to go in there and you're not going to see anything that looks good, and that's okay.
Cool. Good luck. Hope that you get swole. Subsorian has for us, find more ways to expand on StarCraft lore content and foster the lore community, be it through starting a YouTube channel or finding niches where the content can be made. I guess for IRL, finally buy a house and get back into exercising regularly. That's interesting. The lore community, I don't know a whole lot about. I know I've talked to Ruff about it a little bit, and he's really passionate about that type of thing. So maybe find like-minded people within the lore, people that are like into the StarCraft lore, and brainstorm with them. I could suggest maybe someone like Ruff.
I like StarCraft lore as well. One thing that I do occasionally is I'll RP on the StarCraft ladder. So I have a persona called Icky Sticky, and it's a Zerg who just loves spreading creep, and that's the whole objective every single match. It's not necessarily about defeating the opponent, it's about spreading creep, and usually that means the opponent is in a worse spot because of that, but that's the whole thing, and I do a voice.
Spreading creep near and far, east and west, north and south, in your base, high and low.
And I'll kind of do this and just spread creep as fast as I can. So I think the desire and the demand and stuff like that is there. Maybe
That's
send me a
actually
Discord message or something.
I recall talking to you briefly about that a long time ago. Didn't you say your MMR went up on that account? Above
Yeah,
your
it
normal at
passed
some
my
point?
main account. It was pretty silly.
Shows how strong creep is. That's hilarious. Yeah, but I mean, if you're gonna be doing like a YouTube channel and things like that, there's like this whole world of how to do that and how to promote that, and obviously, throw the stuff up on Reddit, find people to work with. Yes, yeah. I don't really know much about the lore. I don't really follow it. I do have to finish Legacy of the Void though. I lost a bet to my stream, so we're gonna be playing some single player. All right, good luck, Subsorian. Alessander, who's in charge of our show notes, brings to us, hello, longtime fan, first time caller. I'd like to learn Korean to see what Castor Park is saying back there, and also hear Innovation's trash talk firsthand. Moving to Korea not possible due to COVID, so what is my next best method? Okay, I've actually got you here, Alessander. You want to use a spaced repetition system. That is the number one way for people to learn new languages. I mean, you can do things like if you went to Korea, right? That can be a really good way to learn a language, is to be completely immersed, like total immersion. Obviously, is probably the overall best way, but for anyone with other things to do, you want to use a spaced repetition system. A great book on that would be Fluent Forever. I would highly suggest it. All right, and then we have some responses here. 1 second. All right, Opti Knights has for us ways to feel more connected and participate in the StarCraft community. So much of this game is solo in nature, and the ladder grind can really wear you down. On top of it, the in-person events where you could meet new fans have all but disappeared, even before COVID.
What are things that we can look forward to in 2021? I don't know if that's a resolution, really, but I think events are going to come back at some point in 2021. I think we're going to have lands again because it seems like the world is getting vaccinated. So I can't imagine why it wouldn't go back.
Bring back hugs.
That would be, yeah.
This may come across as a massive spoiler alert, but companies and organizations do actually want to get back to doing offline events if it's, possible, reasonable, and safe.
Yes. And if you really want hugs, guys, I can suggest having lots of children. I get so many hugs every day. It's crazy. Totally worth.
Just have kids' forehead.
Yeah. Oh my God, Alessandro with the foot pedal memes in here. My New Year's resolution is 1920 by 1080. Okay, thank you. Saft Scissors says, I would like to start with Brood War again and make it above the 50th percentile for ladder MMR. I actually don't know where the 50th percentile lies.
They just want to be above average at Brood War.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it actually probably takes a decent amount of practice to get there, I would say. It's a pretty hardcore community. But like I mentioned before, there's all these communities that you can join to get coached and stuff, like CPL, Coach Pupil League. Look it up. It's within our show notes each week. Or you can just like look for it on the Team Liquid forums. It's a great place, and they have a Discord server and everything. But I think basically the players that go through there see the greatest improvement. In the English speaking scene, that's like where you go, and that's how you improve. We've had players go from brand new up to like good solid A rank players through that system. So definitely check it out. Russ Marauder says, I want to be like Artosis with the creepiest picture I've ever seen. Thank you. There's COVID weight gain, hopefully. We feel you on that. We've been talking about that a lot tonight.
Man. Yeah, you and me both.
Yeah, and you can add me to that list. Not Neuro, though. We just saw him with that weight. He is looking fucking fine.
I just don't have any sugar in my diet. I lived with a diabetic for like 3 years, so I think a lot of the stuff is just I'm eating brown rice and whole wheat pasta and like chicken and that kind of stuff, beans and corn, very simple stuff.
Probably a good way to do it. We have one from Too Much Razmataz. I'm wanting to be more creative, music, art, video, or study something, practice at StarCraft included, but feel like I need to create a space in my house for it. I have a room that needs cleaning up and organizing, but I'm not sure if I should make it extra simple, just a desk and a few basic needs and art/posters on the wall, or if I should make it more personable and me and full of my nerdy lifestyle, shelves of books, posters, comments, art display case of figures, corner desk, and other items, or if this will make me feel cluttered, scatter my brain, and keep me distracted, even though I want to keep it clean and organized. Clean and simple makes it feel like a reserved space for this to let me focus, but being surrounded by my interests and things that bring me joy might make me want to be in there more often and happier, as well as give more encouragement / inspiration for creativity. Any advice, your personal preferences? Sorry for the long post. You guys real much love. Happy New Year. All right.
Journey of 10,000 miles begins with a single step.
Yes. The 10,000 word post. Summed down to he wants to be more creative with music, art, and video, or study something. Should it be in a room that's more personalized? Should it be in a room that's more barren? You guys have any thoughts on how to achieve that going into the new year?
I think something about goals like this, and it's not necessarily specifically on this, but when you're thinking about what you need to be able to do something, especially something that, I mean, does not physically require its own space, I think it might be psyching yourself out a little bit on this, because I don't think that your idea is necessarily bad, but I think that you'll kind of naturally find what you want just by making yourself do it. You know, if you think you need to set that space aside just specifically for that, then I think it's kind of almost creating an obstacle to getting started doing it. And I think if you can just find a way to you know, in the space that you already have set up, or maybe your general room space. I don't know, wherever you feel comfortable doing it. When you start doing it, you'll start to feel, right, if your inspiration for your art is coming from what's around you. If you feel like there's a lot of noise and you need to move things away, I think you'll naturally start to do that. But yeah, that would just be my 2 cents on it. Like, as you start the process, that's when your perspective and what you actually need to be able to do it will come to you.
I think the objectives for this space would be, you want to be comfortable, which is why you're listing off a bunch of accessories that could go in the room, but you also don't want to have too many distractions. We can't really tell you what that balance is. Like, it should be a place where you like going into that room, so you're more motivated to be creative in that space. But at the same time, yeah, it shouldn't be information overload where it's like posters up and down all the walls and a bunch of different stuff that's always catching the eye and distracting you from whatever you're trying to create.
I've heard, and I've kind of found this as well. Working with no constraints makes you less creative than if you have some sort of constraints. So I would kind of liken that to like having less in the room. Almost feels like more constraints in my mind's eye, at least. Like if I were doing this and wanting to be more creative, I'd probably go for the more barren approach, right? Um, like you don't need like maybe all these other ideas in your head to get you thinking. Is That's my guess. I'm not very much of an artist though. Good luck with it. Too much razzmatazz. Elwan Richards says, finishing my studies, hopefully some career growth, improve our household situation. Buy StarCraft Remaster and start ladder while aiming to improve in StarCraft in general. Grow my Twitch channel in 2021, regardless of numbers. How do you grow Twitch channel?
The best way to market yourself is to be online. Growth happens if you're consistent and you're making entertaining and valuable content.
If you build it, they
Yeah.
will come.
Consistency. If someone thinks that they like your stream, then whatever their expectation of what they're going to see when they go to check out your stream should line up with that. You know, don't jump all over the place from day to day, and don't let what other people tell you can or can't work get in your way. You know, new people become successful all the time, not because they follow a formula, but because they do something that everybody else thought was maybe not actually going to be that good, but they went for it and they committed to it.
Yeah. Definitely have to agree with the consistency thing. As far as aiming to improve in StarCraft, we talked about that a whole bunch already, so won't just rehash that here. Best of luck to you. Refrigerator has for us, adopt better study habits, play some more StarCraft, probably custom campaigns, because that's more of my speed. Continue to practice and learn chess. At least start learning the Korean alphabet and get up early. Well, I have good news for you. The Korean alphabet, literally, you can memorize the entire thing in like 1 hour. It's the most modern alphabet in the world,
It's amazing.
and it's completely simple. Like literally, it took me 1 hour in 2004 to memorize the alphabet. It's super simple. So
Yeah.
just take 1 hour to do that. But for the other stuff, that's a little bit harder. Getting up early, continuing to practice, learn chess, better study habits, some more StarCraft. How can we help him?
When I was in university, the study habit that helped me was leaving my apartment to go to the library. Whenever I was at home, it was always the tug of war between, should I study or should I play video games? And you've got that temptation nearby. You've also got friends who are just walking around talking and wanting to be social, and stuff like that can distract you. So getting into a quiet environment is really, really big for being able to devote all of your thinking toward learning something new. Learning is hard. So learning with distractions is impossible. Find a space where you can study quietly.
Right. Yeah. And you have continue to practice and learn chess. There's all sorts of different resources for chess. Obviously, it's become a lot more popular recently, so those should be pretty easy. You talked about a lot of the StarCraft improvement, but I guess you're going to do is just like playing some more StarCraft. It's just when you have your time for that. Uh, Best of luck, man.
Tron Carter says, continue to study Korean and finish more Korean books / find some role in translation in StarCraft, no matter how small. Finish and publish StarCraft fan edit video. Set goals for workout routine. Realize and continue my hobbies that I actually enjoy. And finding the time to make the most out of my time. I feel like I'm just grifting life in a way sometimes. Get better at maintaining my relationships. I love talking to my good friends, but never get around to talking to them as much as I would want. Figure out how to be less negative and manage mood swings. It's just hard to know which worries will just go away with age. Most worries do go away with age. Like as when I think of what I was worried about when I was younger, it's very different now. Um, like I guess you're less concerned with things as you get cooler with yourself. Like you don't care as much like what people think of you and stuff. I don't know exactly what your worries are and stuff, but that just to throw that out there for you is the oldest one here. Also you said realize and continue my hobbies that I actually enjoy and find the time to make the most out of my time. I feel like I'm just grifting life in a way sometimes. I like that you put in italics actually enjoy. The things you actually enjoy, like I mentioned before, you'll generally find the time to do. It's just such a good way to measure what you actually want to do. It's because it's what you do. Because if you really want to do something, you're going to end up doing it. If you're kind of mad on it, then it's going to get pushed aside a lot of the time, I find. So that part, I feel like, should take care of itself. Just it will take your aligning of your brain to realize that, oh, maybe I don't want to learn how to play the ukulele because I never do it. It's like, yeah, exactly. It's like it sounds cool, it sounds fun. You'd like to know how to play it, but not enough to actually play it.
It's important to note that no one has infinite energy in a given day. With the things I actually enjoy, I think that may be wanting to reach for something that is productive on a personal level over time, as opposed to something that is less productive, like watching a show that you really enjoy. But it's okay to have some passive leisure activities because sometimes you are straight up out of energy. You don't have more energy to really push yourself, to think critically, to learn something new that maybe, yes, that would increase your revenue, you would advance your career and all this, but we're mortals. We're tired sometimes. Sometimes you're sleep deprived. So it's okay to not always be pushing forward. Some days you're just trying to sustain what you've built for yourself already. And some days you're just trying to survive because shit is so tough and you have a lot of stuff that's on your plate and maybe you're really emotionally affected by it. That's okay too. Some days you don't make forward progress as a person in a way that would be something you would show off to other people. That's okay.
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is, and I'm going to reiterate this for the entirety of the show, but we are living in unprecedented times. This is this hasn't been a normal year. And if you feel like you've been more negative than normal, if you feel like you haven't had the energy or the interest to put the time into those things that you say that you actually enjoy, that's okay. At its base, when life is stressful, when we feel depressed, when there are outward pressures that we can't control that are, heavily dictating what we can and can't do with our lives, it's okay to accept that there's not much you can do about those types of things. And one thing I would say mostly is, don't beat yourself up for feeling that way, because a lot of people feel that way and it's completely natural and it's okay. And you're not alone in that at all. And the best thing that you can do is keep your chin up and find those hobbies that you're passionate about and try to set goals with those that you can look forward to. If that hobby that you actually enjoy is tap dancing, set a goal that you want to dance a certain song in 6 months, right? Give yourself time to do it. Give yourself time to practice, and don't turn it into a big monster that you have to fight.
Great answers. Good luck, Tron Carter. Up next, we have Takarix. I want to get Masters 3 with Zerg, currently bottom of Diamond 1. Practice my piano at least 1 hour per week. And work out 6 days a week, even just a single push-up. Single push-up thing, like we mentioned. Do that. Shit. You answered your own workout part at the end there. Do 1 push-up a day because you have time for that. There's no one on earth that doesn't have time for 1 push-up a day. Every single person has time for that. And that will actually just build to more. But what about practicing piano at least 1 hour a week and Masters 3 Zerg from Diamond 1?
One thing that helps me to have routine is to link it to something else that's already in my routine. So instead of just having some random, I want to do X at a certain time, just booking it in a slot that is consistent. When I feel like I would normally have the time for that, I think that makes it a little bit easier because it does take some mental effort to decide to do something unusual. You have to decide, okay, now is the piano moment. Well, it could have been any time. You can spend the energy on a different day when you have more energy to schedule it, because scheduling does take a little bit of energy. And then you could do it on another day where you've already kind of booked it in of, okay, after work this day, I tend to feel pretty good, so I'm going to play piano at this time. Or maybe you want to do it in the morning, but figuring out when is a good strategy, I think, for that. And then getting Masters 3 with Zerg. Drone production is one of the least obvious things that separates players across leagues. This has been known for a really long time. There was a Team Liquid post back in Wings of Liberty that analyzed GM Zergs, Master Zergs, or I think it was all races actually, but the worker production over time was the biggest distinguishing factor in skill. If you're trying to macro up, more workers means you have more flexibility. It means you have more production over time. You're not as committed to just that one attack you're doing right now working. You can attack and expand. You can attack and reproduce behind that. So drone, really, really fast. Keep an eye on your idle larva in the early game and see if there are any stoppages in that. And you want to iron that out. Make sure you have supply so you can make stuff with your larva. And figure out when do I need to make fighting units and when do I need to make drones. That's a really key decision for Zerg to make. Sometimes you mess it up, but you can always look at that in the replay.
Great. Very good answers. Good luck, Takarix. We have Sva3. Says, read 30 books in 2021. Only read 28 in 2020. Missed my goal. Play StarCraft consistently this year. Gained 200 to 300 MMR in Chess Blitz. Continue to learn Korean. Start a stream and stream occasionally for fun. Leave the best mod comments for banned users on Artosis channel. Make Artosis think about the Uggs. Okay. I would say that play StarCraft consistently this year pairs well with start a stream, right? Like those two things you can kind of bundle together. Just when you're going to play StarCraft, you're on the stream. Why not? Right?
Chess streaming is pretty big on Twitch now too.
That's right. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So do both those. And that has an overlap, I think, too. Like StarCraft players should like chess.
Yeah.
I like both.
The book part is great because I think obviously if you got to 28, then I think that's still that's pretty impressive. To be honest with you, there's a lot of, especially as you get older and you're out of school, not a lot of pressure to read books. So I'm gonna say in that department, I think you're already doing the right job. I think if you were to fail, quote unquote, again and only hit 28 instead of 30 by the end of 2021, I would still consider that to be a pretty big dub, honestly.
Yeah, the only 28. I think I read 5.
Yeah.
What's a book?
No, I mean, I love to read and stuff. That's a big number of books to read. I would say like the number, I think having a number you're trying to reach is not really as important because you shouldn't finish every book you start. That's definitely something that I've found over the years. Like I used to try to finish every book I start, but honestly, if like you're on book number 12 and like you're like, this isn't catching me, just stop reading it, man, and go into the next one. And I think that the quality of your reading time would improve if you do that. I don't know if you already do that, maybe you do, but if you improve the quality of that time so that you enjoy it more, it's easier to get more read in a lot of ways, even if you're dropping books midway.
Books can be drastically different lengths as well. 30 books that are really short, maybe that's really fast. If you're reading something that's massive, that could take a really long time, but it might be a more productive read than 4 short books. So yeah, the number, I would say maybe don't put too much stock in that.
Yeah. Best of luck with that. I guess there's also continue to learn Korean. I would definitely still suggest what I said before, like spaced repetition systems are the best because vocabulary is like the most important thing to learn in a language, as far as I can tell. It's like can't do like grammar is great, but what are you gonna do with grammar if you don't have the words? All right, best of luck, man. Thanks for being my mod. Via has feel good about the amount quality of work that I produce at job. Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay, so feel good about the amount/quality of the work that I produce at job. That sounds like the imposter syndrome type thing, right? Neuro?
Yeah, in a sense, finding contentment is something that you can strive for regardless of what you're doing. There's always the never good enough mindset that some people can get stuck in, where you could backseat and say, well, it could have been a little bit better if you made this adjustment. Just being able to do some work and then be able to say, that was pretty well done, and I can rest easy knowing that I did enough. And then moving on to the next thing is really important for keeping your head on your shoulders and continuing to move forward. A lot of people, every time they play a match, every time they do anything, they just look at it and they say, that was bad. That wasn't good enough. That was flawed. Yeah, it's flawed. It's always flawed and messed up in some kind of capacity. So being okay with less than 100%.
Like it. And the last question we have, the last resolution from Polly. Try to be more in peace with myself and make a bigger positive impact locally. Leaving my comfort zone more often. That can be a tough one.
Well, that's the hardest thing, right? You know, there's nothing.
My comfort zone ever really.
Yeah, there's nothing easy about that, and that's the fact that you're willing to come forward and say that that's your goal. I think is a good first step. It's pretty easy to try and blame our own personal issues on external factors, right? Or project them to other things, or lie to ourselves about what the source of our misery or whatever it is that we don't think we're doing right is. But that's it's trying to have that conversation with yourself, right? Like what is it that brings you discord? Why do certain things make you anxious or more upset? And I think having a bigger positive impact locally, I think that's also a phenomenal goal if you're talking about like community service or something, or for your family or your community. Those are fantastic goals. And I think that those two align really well, honestly. So a great, if you're talking about leaving your comfort zone, you want to go walk the dogs at the shelter, then hey, those stuff like that can be a really great way to kind of get out there, challenge yourself, and do some good for the world.
Yeah, really good goals.
Yeah,
all right.
Peace of mind is something that everyone strives for. I think doing a check-in with yourself before you interact with other people is pretty good. Oftentimes I'll ask friends and things, how is your morale? How are you doing 1 to 10? Do you feel positive? Do you feel like you're getting stuff done, or is it a tough time for you? And being aware of that before you engage with other people. Sometimes you engage with your friends and honestly, you're down in the dumps. You haven't been doing well. Just being aware of that can go a really long way. Some people, especially in 2020, they're carrying a whole bunch of pain and they're unsatisfied because they can't do the things that they want to. And it's really heavy and difficult on them. And sometimes they move around with that really angry, unsatisfied, negative energy. And they start a conversation with someone else and they snap at them, or they judge them, or they're very kind of hostile and aggressive. But that hostility isn't necessarily at its origin with the issue with that person. Sometimes they just walked into the conversation already feeling kind of hostile. So being able to just say, how am I doing? Are there any things that I can do to take care of myself first before I engage with other people? Because we all know this year has been a lot of us at each other's throats, really, really judging each other, really polarized, and not being able to find common ground. Just trying to understand where the other person is coming from goes a really long way. And also having some compassion that I believe that people are hurting more this year than they have before. So if someone lashes out, I'm not going to take it as personally because I feel like everyone is carrying stuff that we're not necessarily aware of and talking about.
Right.
So yeah, try to manage that. Try to manage that negative energy bouncing around. There's a bunch of it in all of us.
Yeah. Well, some excellent answers, guys. Thank you, everyone, for sending in your New Year's resolutions. I hope that we could help you somewhat. Did our best there, I think. Do you guys have anything else to say on New Year's resolutions in general before we jump into the Patreon questions and wrap this up?
I think I mentioned most of the things that I want to focus on for me personally. I wanted it to be pretty simple and achievable for myself. Ship it at 8% is a concept that I want to abide by a lot more. There were quite a few videos that I had and just projects that were stuck in the pipeline in 2020 because it was like, is this the right time to launch the video? Has this video been edited and refined enough? Is this concept good enough? Do I need to write a better outline and script before I collaborate with this other person? Just getting over that and not being as worried about the naysayers in the comments who are going to say that this video wasn't good enough. If there are 2 people who said the video wasn't good enough and like 80 people who said it was, the video is good enough, period. And we can move on to the next thing. So just being comfortable with that, being able to shift stuff that's a little bit scuffed, but the main idea is still good. I mentioned walking more often. I tend to be pretty fit, like I'm pretty strong and that kind of thing, but I don't have as much time on my feet moving around, which is kind of difficult on my joints. I'll go from sitting or standing in a static position for streaming for the whole day, and then occasionally I'll do a high impact workout, but I don't have that low gear of just walking. So being able to get myself outside and do some of the easier stuff that it's not as impressive. Like I'm not going to brag to my friends like, dude, I just totally took a walk. It was baller. It's a walk. Like old people go for walks, but they're doing that for their health and it's really beneficial. So just to clear your head, I think you can do a lot of productive meditation and you can set your intentions for the day. It's before you have all the different memes and distractions and alarms and stuff going off. So I want to do that more. I want to practice on the Korea server more than I have been. I get pretty tilted when I get Brazil or Australia whenever I'm playing on NA. It feels like a really big jolt and big advantage for my opponent. So I've tried to think about it in terms of practicing with weights on. And a way that I could do that is just play on KR. It's got about the same ping as those servers and I can get used to it. So whenever I queue into one of those matches, I'm just comfortable with that format. And I also want to play in more online cups because I've been leading a classic WoW guild. That's taken up a ton of my time, and honestly I don't have as much time to practice my StarCraft as I did when, say, I was at the team house with Polt Violet and Jack Attack. So my results are going to reflect that, and I was worried that if I play in these online cups my Aligulac rating will go down. Nobody fucking cares about my Aligulac rating. That's just a number and most people don't even know where to find it. So I would probably play cups and I would have a downswing, but people like to see someone trying their best at something, and that's the point. The point is they want to see that high intensity Neuro's fighting people. Yeah, he's probably going to lose. I'm not going to win ESL shit, but it's entertaining, and if I want to do try hard stuff, if I want to improve, it's a really good place where I can practice.
Great.
That's awesome. Yeah. New Year's stuff is tough. Yeah, I think at least keeping goals attainable is really important. This was I had a really hard year with all of this stuff going on, but some of my goals were to try and shift more of my focus and the time and energy that I was spending away from only work stuff or only my stream stuff, and to talk to my family and my brothers more. Who, you know, even after my move, still live a couple thousand miles away. And I was happy because I did that. I was able to spend a lot more time this year. I made a lot more time to play games with them that they enjoyed, and just be more involved in their lives and know what's going on. And that, I think that for me, that was really big. I think I've balanced out what I'm doing with my own life a lot more, and that's something that I want to continue to work on and try to build new habits in there, rather than just just wake up, stream, or go somewhere and do nothing else with the rest of my day. And probably my biggest goal for the foreseeable future is I'm trying to accept myself more. I find that I do the spiral a lot. I beat myself up over things, and I get really anxious. I get really worked up. I say things that I don't mean, and I hurt people, or sometimes people that are close to me. Sometimes people in a stream or in a chat or in StarCraft community, and I don't want to be an asshole, right? And I tell myself that, and that's something that I've been working really hard on. I've taken a lot of space away from some of the places like SC Reddit and stuff like that, where I would find a lot of stuff that would feed into that. And yeah, my big goal is to just keep working on that and try to be better and be more aware of when I'm feeling overwhelmed, and learn how to step away at the right time, that I don't make things worse for myself or other people around me.
Nate, you're a fucking champion, dude. I believe in you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
With New Year's, obviously this is New Year's Eve and everything. For me personally, how I operate, like I'm a very goal-oriented person. In fact, if I don't have a goal at a given point, I fall into a bit of a depression until I come up with something I'm excited about to work towards. So I'm someone that's always working really hard towards something. But one thing I've definitely noticed over the years is to not make too many things I'm working towards, because I've always got shit going on that I'm kind of working on. That's something I'm trying to be very careful of. As far as like a resolution that I have like right now, that's like kind of, I guess you would call it my New Year's one, because it's like what I'm working on really hard right now. I just want to have like really good runs in ASL qualifiers coming up. So I'm like working off stream more than usual on my StarCraft play. So let's see. I guess that's the one special thing that's happening right now for me.
Secret Artosis off-stream practice.
That's
Training hard to ascend to the next level.
right. See, basically the same fucking resolution I have every year for my whole life. Be better at StarCraft. All right.
So say we all.
Yeah, it is the way.
This is the way.
Yeah, there you go. Whatever. I'm one of you guys. Hi, kids. All right, we have some Patreon questions here.
Before we get to those, we actually have Podcast PSA. We had some troubles with our podcast aggregators and had to swap over. So we have a new RSS feed. If your podcast is not getting updated and you're watching this on YouTube or something like that, refresh it. The new link will be everywhere. We're now on Amazon Music, Audible, Deezer, Player FM, TuneIn, Alexa soon, as well as Pandora and iHeartRadio. In the next month or so, we're probably going to have Patreon subscriptions, which are available at a whole year at a time instead of month to month. So you can subscribe for 1 year and then stop it if you wish, instead of having it a continued thing. That's about it for me.
Thank you, Cobra. All right, there you go. Your update on how the Pylon Show is going. And yeah, Cobra and I are working on improving the Pylon Shows as well as the entire cast. So we hope to have better and better shows. I don't know. I think we're doing all right, and continue forward into the future. All right, let's jump into those Patreon questions. First up, Red Gunner Guy asks, how to finish long project, doing a guide on each StarCraft 2 unit after 10 plus videos. Hard to find time and energy to the next video, let alone the rest. Better to master one race versus good at 4 races. Thoughts on poker-wise? StarCraft 2 players good at poker. Are they, though, Mr. Neuro? Where is KR Pro Gamer? Am I missing something? Oh, okay. So, well, if you're talking about KR Pro Gamer, where they are in poker, poker is illegal here. The gambling is illegal for Koreans. Like the casinos in the country, only you have to have a non-Korean passport to go to. It's like really, actually, kind of.
Actually, it was
weird.
mind-blowing, by the way, when we went to Seoul. I could not believe that.
Yeah. So like if you go to the casino here, it's mostly like Chinese businessmen and stuff like that that are in the casinos. Yeah, so that might be, but there are some Korean pros that are
really quite good.
Why SC2 players are good at poker, are they though? I would say generally, if you take a person who's gotten diamond in StarCraft, are they better at poker? No. StarCraft players who are pros or they're at a high level, they have a competitive fire that basically means they don't want to be bad at stuff. So if they put themselves in a poker situation, they're going to want to improve at that over time. But poker is very different from StarCraft in the sense that a garbage player can beat a pro in a hand. In StarCraft, that is impossible. Basically, because for a bad player, they're not going to be working from strategies that actually work, and there's no mechanics in the game. So a pro might say, okay, the most likely situation is they have some of these hands in this range, but a bad player, they don't understand ranges. They don't understand what good hands or bad hands are. They don't understand bet sizing or how to get where they are. So it's kind of just an average of value that you're dealing with, but they can win one key hand against someone who's good and then tell all their friends that story about how smart they are. And then you can fancy yourself a good poker player from that one story. So a lot of people work at poker with that mindset where they're not actually good at the game. They don't actually understand the math behind it or have a good strategy, but they have a few good stories that they tell. Poker is very hard. I got my ass kicked big time when I first started. And then I went to the 2+2 forums and I was like, man, I'm just getting destroyed at this. What is going on? Like, am I bad or am I just unlucky? And when I got to the forums, they used a bunch of terminology that I didn't even know. Like, I don't even know what those words mean. So that was just a big slap in the face of, you're totally ignorant. Stop thinking that you're good at something that you just started and get to studying.
Yeah. He also has the question here about finishing a long project, like videos that he's been making. How does he get those finished? I think what Neuro talked about before with like 80% is good enough. Like don't be a perfectionist with this stuff. Make it and ship it. That's it. Just make the content and get the content out there. If that's what you're doing, you're probably trying to make it too good. And honestly, the difference in polish, while you can see it and you're like, wow, this is amazing, people aren't going to care as much as you think over that polish. All right. Thank you, Red Gunner Guy, for the questions.
It actually appears he meant, wasn't there supposed to be a KR guest on the Pylon Show? In order to answer that, we haven't forgotten about the episode. We just haven't scheduled it yet. It'll be next year. Promise.
Sorry, guys. Yeah, I think I said we were going to do that this year, and then it just fucking didn't happen. So sorry about that, everybody. It's all on me. I have to get it set up, but we will do it. We will do it. We promise. There's a whole bunch of really cool episodes that we have ideas for that just haven't occurred yet, but we just keep plugging away. Anyways, thank you for the question. Knocked Cop asks, what StarCraft unit adjusted to any size would be the best to keep around? Just the unit, no pylons, EMPs, or spine crawlers. Okay, maybe spine crawlers for the instant drop of at the subway. Drop off at the subway. Okay, because they burrow. So a StarCraft unit just at any size would be the best to keep around. Like in real life, I'm guessing he's saying.
Okay. So the answer to this has to be a medevac, right? Because not only can it follow you around and take you places, but if it's near you and a cougar attacks you in the woods, it can literally surgically repair your body with no other tools necessary, right? Like, there's some really good practical applications to having a heal laser that you can shrink into your pocket or use to fly away, right? I feel like that's that's what I'm on anyway.
But now you have me wondering, because how much damage do I do? It has to be 1, right? So like me fighting a cougar, like the medevac is over me healing me, and like every time it hits me, I'm crying. I'm like, oh, I'm not gonna die, but this is terrible. And I'm dealing 1 damage a hit to this fucking cougar, man. He's like biting my fingers off when I punch him. Oh my god, that would be terrible.
Your fingers Your fingers are being surgically reattached mid-fight, and then it runs out of energy and the cougar kills you. Or you jump in the medevac, right?
Yeah, then I get in the medevac. I'm like, I should have done that a long time ago. I just have like this cougar with a black eye down there.
Yeah, you could also have a queen, but then your floor would be gross. So
yeah, hard pass.
You could walk faster.
Nidus would be pretty good. You can teleport around places or warp technology.
You'd rather take the Nidus tunnel than battlecruiser jump? You'd rather go slip and slide in through that thing wherever you're headed?
Battlecruiser jump would definitely be the cleaner solution to this problem.
Yeah, but then you have to decide if you're actually still you. You know, the
Oh yeah. Did you prestige yourself?
Yeah. That's the question. So thanks for the question there, Knockup. Paragleber asks, as a YouTuber/streamer, is there any way to use money, run ads on Twitter, Reddit, etc., to help with discovery of your channel by people who are genuinely interested in gaming content and might become active viewers? How to promote content so that people give it a fair chance as if found organically? Well, that's kind of an interesting question. My gut feeling at the beginning of that is no, because like the money that you make off of YouTube, if you were to put that back into ads to drive them to your YouTube, if you look through click-through rates and costs and stuff and how much you make, there's no way that that would end up turning a profit or everyone would do that instantly and be billionaires, right? So,
the answer to this is actually just clip your own content that's really, really good and spread it out on your own channels, your Instagram, your Twitter, your Facebook. This is one of my own New Year's resolutions for the Pylon Show and other places, is that we make fantastic content. We just need to spread it out there so that people see it. Don't pay somebody that isn't interested in your content just to get a click-through rate, and then they're not going to be interested. Make your own content everywhere.
Yeah. The thing that I would recommend is really trying to stack the value of the content that you're shipping so that it's just that good that people want to tune in again because it's that valuable to them. As a YouTuber/streamer, you are competing with Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, like movies that are coming out, all of this stuff that people can watch. You are competing with that. What is the value that you're bringing to the consumer? They need some reason to watch you other than this other stuff that's really well produced. What is their reason for that? They're not just going to do it out of charity. There are too many streams that are online. You have to give them something that is uniquely awesome. This shit is competitive.
Amen.
I get kind of rustled when you tell them you're a streamer and they're like, oh, my son has a YouTube channel. And it's like, God damn, the amount of like real-time hustle that you have to have. When your stream is online, second by second, people are evaluating, do I want to stay here? Do I want to flip to another channel? There are a lot of really good creators out there. You've got to hustle. This is competitive. It's very competitive because streaming is available to pretty much everyone with a decent PC and decent internet now. You have to distinguish yourself with the value that you bring to the table.
Don't be afraid to post on Twitter more than once a day. People are tweeting all the time. If people don't look at Twitter at the exact moment you posted it, it may never get seen. They're following 100 people.
That's true. I miss stuff sometimes.
I suck at using Twitter.
I've yelled at Neuro specifically about this, by the way, so he knows.
It felt like that was directed at somebody. All right. Thanks for the question, man. Good luck to you. Optional player asks, no question. I'm just legitimately happy to see another great year of StarCraft 1 and 2 come to a close, to see all my favorite casters, streamers, and producers. Hi, Matt. Doing well, and everyone is making the best of 2020. Here's to 2021. Love, peace, love, and death metal from your boy in Ontario, Canada. Thank you, optional player.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
All right, Blechfaust asks, hey, Artosis, since you've added a mouse and keyboard cam, I would like to know which keycaps you removed and why. What's the trouble with the Windows key you and Tasteless seem to have? Hey, Nate and Neuro, did you remove keycaps from your keyboard too? Please tell us which and why. See you in 2021. Cheers. All right, so I removed the tilde key because it's next to 1 and I want to be able to hit my 1 hotkey very easily. I removed F1 because F1 is a help menu in StarCraft 1 and you can't rebind it, so that is pointless. I removed F5 because it's on the other side of F4, which is a positional hotkey, so I removed that because it changes the graphics to low res mode, which sucks, and occasionally I still fat finger it. I removed dash, or maybe that's underscore, I don't know, whatever is to the right of 0, because the 0 you can't move the Brood War number hotkeys. So I have to hit 0 quite often, but it's really far from my starting hand position, so I could miss, which is why I removed that. And I removed every key over there. So I removed the dash key, then the key to the right of P, the key to the right of L, and the key to the right of M. because none of those keys are used, and I want to be able to hit those keys with accuracy without looking down. And I removed the Windows key, and I just finally figured out how to disable it on this keyboard, because even with it removed, occasionally, like if I'm hotkeying 0 and 9, my finger hits it sometimes, so I'll fucking pop out of the game when I'm trying to hotkey my comm stats or something. So, yeah, that's why I do it. Do you guys remove any keys from your keyboards?
No.
Actually, no.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, for me, I just look at it as like it lessens the percentage chance I'm going to make an error, and like all I do on the PC is play StarCraft, so like why not?
Well,
Just
especially
be accurate
I-
forehead.
I mean, I was going to say, at least with SC2 or most modern games, you can rebind stuff right through the software. But in your case, especially with the Brood War F1 and F5, if I was playing that all the time, yeah, those 100% would come off.
Yeah.
It's pretty nice in StarCraft 2. The units do what you want them to do. It's amazing.
You should check it out, Dan. Technology's wild.
I can't imagine the units walking where I tell them to on the first click. That just sounds lazy. You guys are lazy. All right. Thanks, Blechfaust, for the question. Hope that answers it. Saf Scissors asks, one of our own is going through a rough time. Please keep him in your thoughts. The SC2 community supports you. Mick Monroe. GoFundMe link in his story or in the Pylon general chat. Thanks for drawing our attention. Best of luck to you, Mick Monroe. Hope you do well. Refrigerator asks, did you guys get good presents? Cheers. Looking forward to a fresh new year and another year of the Pylon Show in 2021. Thank you, Refrigerator. Did you guys get any Christmas presents?
Yeah, I got some nice cold weather gear and jackets and stuff. My parents got some land out in South Dakota, down in the Black Hills, which is really pretty. It's very cold in the winter, though, so got some more cold weather gear to be hanging out there. Also got a Bruce Lee action figure that can, like, change his hand grip, and he has got nunchucks and stuff like that. My dad was like, you're not very good at telling me what you want for Christmas, and I know that you're a Bruce Lee fan, so here you go. Thanks, Dad. This is cool.
Yeah, it's a thought that counts. I like it.
Yeah.
You get anything, Nate?
Yeah, I really wanted socks and underwear because I got we got Lewis back in January, and anybody who's had a puppy, yeah, pretty much self-explanatory. So I got some dope new socks and boxers. That was fantastic, and I got another little token from home. My brother sent me some beer koozies. These are for Yingling. These are my boys, just because it's got a bald eagle on it, and it's from near where I grew up.
Nice. Yeah, my favorite thing I got, like I always get like books and socks and underwear and stuff. But the thing that I got that I wasn't like expecting, but it's awesome. My wife got me one of those small clip-on book lights, but it's one that emits almost zero blue light. Because I read every night in bed before going to sleep, which is why I bought like a Kindle Paperwhite a long time ago, so that it wasn't like shining in my face really bright. But this emits almost no blue light, like a very small amount, which is the type that screws with your brain and makes you stay awake. So I'm like super happy with it. It gives off like this weird yellowish tinted light, but it's yeah, I guess I get to sleep better now due to that. So I was really happy with that gift.
Nice.
Thank you, Refrigerator. Hope you had a good Christmas. Lord Aphilium asks, hey Nate, Austin, and Dan. Happy holidays and Happy New Year. Do you find that you feel extra pressure streaming StarCraft and StarCraft 2, or do you find that chat feels akin to a team at your back? I always find 2v2 less stressful than 1v1, but mentally I value solo wins more. Lots of love to you all. My chat wants to see me lose. And so it's basically it's me against the fucking team of professional snipers at Blizzard that are trying to ruin my ladder experience by giving me random players and laggers, and the chat are both against me. So but no, I don't feel any extra pressure when I'm streaming. I'm pretty chill. I have a lot of confidence in myself, and yeah, I don't know. I don't really feel that much pressure streaming or anything.
I try to take the time to give people feedback on their backseat gaming to make sure that it's delivered in a respectful way. I think it's really easy to give a backseat comment that's delivered like an asshole. It's pretty difficult to phrase it in an elegant way that seems like a helpful suggestion. And the nice thing about being in chat is you have a little bit of time after you type out your backseat gaming comment or question. You can pause before you hit the enter key and say, is this obnoxious? And if it is, you could go back and you could adjust it, because sometimes you have a question in good faith as the viewer of, I'm looking for like the understanding of, did you scout and then you responded with this? Because sometimes people will ask a question of, oh, why didn't you scout what the Terran was doing? Because I am bad? I don't know what to say to you.
Because I am bad?
Yeah, they're like looking for a very specific reason. Like they assume the streamer has a good reason for everything they do. No, they don't. We're just trying to do stuff and we're winging it just like everyone else is. So be kind with the comments and that kind of thing. But if you can educate and engage as people are giving commentary, you can basically train your chat to be more respectful over time.
Right.
And that's an excellent way to do it. You know, that's something that I struggle with really hard. I take my losses really seriously. When people tell me that I suck, I take it personally, and it blows, man. I do feel that pressure. It's very real. You know, I always feel like what Neuro was saying, you have this pressure when you're streaming. You always want to be, you know, proving your value and doing everything you can to make the show entertaining, to make it something worth people coming back to. And it's something that I feel a lot when I lose. I feel like I'm letting everybody down, and it certainly does not help when I feel like people are piling on. So that's kind of my take on that. I try to ask for people to give respectful criticism, or hold their tongue, as it were, because at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I feel like I'm doing my best, and I know that it's, at least in my mind, it's never enough. So that stuff is, I find that stuff super stressful.
All right. Thanks for the question, Lord Philium. Some Drunk Canadian asks, what is one thing you most and least want in 2021 for StarCraft 2? Nothing balance related. Personal development in the world outside of COVID. Sending much love and peace from the place I call home. Happy New Year. So what's some stuff you would most want and not want for StarCraft 2 personal development in the world?
For the world, something that I want most is for people to be more patient with each other and to try to be critical a lot of the clickbait news and that kind of thing. I think things are pretty polarized right now. So coming together and being able to find common ground with people and to not just echo the different saucy quips that you've heard on TV or the news and have families tear each other apart. Just try to have a team mindset of, you're the people of a nation, you're the people of the world, and we're trying to figure this shit out. And it's difficult and it's complicated, and we've received different information from different sources. So for us to find the best solution, we need to make some compromises. We need to meet in the middle on some stuff. And we also need to evaluate different solutions on their own merits, rather than to only just like stay along our party lines and that kind of thing. I think we need more of a togetherness.
I want that too. 100%.
Yeah. I guess for that, empathy for the world would be a big one. You know, if we could all be a little more willing to try and put ourselves into other people's shoes and not take things as being black or white, and try to see why some of the things that we think might be happening aren't as extreme in one way or the other as we might feel like we would assume. And
I definitely agreed. For StarCraft 2, I want to see LAN events back. I so miss them. My God. So, like, all my best friends are StarCraft people. And I only get to see fucking Tasteless, man. It's Jesus. Get me back to an event. So I'd love to see that.
I want to give a reminder about the life of StarCraft. And I was thinking about this after I got invited onto this Pylon episode, and how there's always that lingering doubt of, oh, well, if they're not going to be patching the game as much, as the game going to survive? The game survives as long as we are here. As long as we are talking about it, as long as we are playing it, as long as we are watching it, the game is alive. And maybe I'm biased, but I think that the StarCraft community is excellent. Just the people who have been pulled into this game are thinking people. They're people who like strategy. They like hard work and effort and dedication. They like talking about mindset and attitude and just how the world works and stuff like that. They're very intellectually active people. You guys are amazing. So streaming for StarCraft people, making content for StarCraft people has been such a blessing. And the demand and the excitement is still there. I haven't really felt the pressure of, oh shit, like maybe I'm going to need to main a different game on Twitch. I have not had that issue come up. And that's because you guys continue to support the game. I'm very grateful.
Indeed. Great. Thank you for the question, Some Drunk Canadian. Couple more left. Holly asks, what do you wish from the community for next year?
I'm gonna go right off of what Neuro was just saying though. I mean, the biggest thing that I think the community can do for StarCraft is to be upbeat and support what is out there. You know, we talked about this when the news first came, but this train goes as long as we put coal in it. Well, obviously dated mechanisms and whatnot, but if we are feeding the fire, if people are excited, if people are coming out and supporting content creators, the content creators are going to be there. If people are coming out and tuning into what tournaments happen, from the small ones to the big ones, those tournaments keep happening. And if people can be positive about the opportunities that are still going to present themselves, and people can be positive about the situation, even if it's maybe not what they were hoping for, then that's going to give the biggest opportunity for something good to come of it, even when it seems like something might not. But I think that's like Neuro was saying, the biggest thing to do is to stay the course and push forward all of the things that you love, and let the people that make those things you love know that you care about it and that it's something that you really enjoy.
Yeah. I think it's always good to ask the community to kind of spread the word about what they like, like word of mouth, putting it on, just letting friends know, like, oh, I'm watching StarCraft. I see a lot of people that are like, oh my god, I just came back. Like a friend was watching this, and I checked it, and it's like, I used to play this game. I love it. It's awesome. I'm back, and like that type of thing. I think is really helpful and awesome when people do that. Share your passion with other people, and if they like it, great. If they don't shove it down their throat.
A recommendation to what I would like to see from the community is an effort to cheer people on. The way that I've seen StarCraft is it's an arena where we can channel our fighting spirit, where that competitive drive within ourselves can really come out, and you get to build your own storyline as an individual. You're not carried by a team. You're not dealing with business politics of who wants you in what position or what. It is you against opponents, period. And that's fantastic. And if we can take that space and this time where we talk about StarCraft to help each other out, be constructive with the way that we talk about styles and builds and advice, then it can be an energizing community. I think it already is, but this is just a reminder to be positive, be constructive with how you talk to other people, because God knows, like, we get beaten up throughout the week with all the news of the world and shit like that. So this can be a space where we can power up and be our best selves.
All right, last question. Sreger Nevets asks, hey y'all, just want to say how much respect I have for all that you guys do. I wish I had the ability to be in front of people as much and as well as you do. How do you guys do it? I would F up a pylon show in the first 5 seconds of me speaking without even trying to. Well, I mean, I definitely do fuck things up with the pylon show. Literally, probably every episode. But actually, I was petrified of public speaking and stuff. Like back in school, I would like get sweat. I would start sweating, thinking that the teacher might call on me to get up and do my presentation, which I knew I had to do that day or the next day. And I would still be like, oh, please, God, no. Oh, please, no. And I'd be like sweating. I don't even hear anything. I'm getting clammy and stuff. But the reason why I can do it in StarCraft, and I guess it's built my confidence in speaking in front of people in general, was just because I I love StarCraft and I know what I'm talking about. So I don't know. It actually I didn't find it hard to be able to do that, even though I was petrified of public speaking previously. And then I guess once I did it, I realized there's nothing to be afraid of.
I had a similar thing when I was a kid. I would get really embarrassed, mainly performing music or speaking. I would have a reaction where I would get more flushed around my neck. So it would get like pretty red just as a physical reaction to the nerves and thinking about, well, what if I mess up? What do all these people think about my performance and that kind of thing? And the solution to it was just to do it more. I did musical theater in university where I'm on stage in front of a bunch of people. Very intimidating. Whenever we have a production, the first night I'm quite nervous. The second performance of the same show, not nervous at all because I know that I can do it. It's been done. Yeah, it's always kind of scuffed, but that's fine. And I get to just enjoy it the later times. I remember the early times when I was invited on the late game with Lycan and being on the Pylon show the first few times. Yeah, I was nervous because I know that everything that I say is going into a VOD that a lot of people are going to watch. The viewership is higher than my channel normally is, so I want to make sure that I don't mess up too much. But everybody messes up. So being able to just accept, I'm going to go on the show. I might stumble over my words a couple times, but every human being does. That's okay. If you can just accept those mistakes before you even come on, you're not going to be as surprised by them. One meditation that I did before my tryhard session yesterday was I was on my walk and my run, and I accepted I'm going to have some games with bad ping. I'm going to die to cannon rush maybe once or twice. I'm going to be unable to break a turtling Terran once or twice. And then when I get into my ladder session, I'm not as rustled when that ends up happening because I've already prepared. So you accept the nerves as being a normal human reaction. I'm speaking in front of other people. I'm more stressed out. That's natural. If you accept that stress as just invigorating you and letting your body know this is important, I want to try my best, then that can be an ally to you rather than an enemy. And you don't have that internal tug of war. It's just a fact of the battlefield.
Right.
Yeah. For me, I guess I get a bit of a rush out of it. Honestly, it's I enjoy the challenge for me personally because I still get anxious when I do stuff from time to time. Something like this that we've done a bunch, and I'm really comfortable with all you guys, and I don't know how many times I've been on the Pylon show, but it's one practice, right? Practice is a huge thing, but I mean, when I like the difference from going and like doing the first year of events that I was casting to doing my first BlizzCon, like I got nervous and anxious all over again, right? But the most important thing is to remind yourself, right, that you if you're putting in the time and you're working on it, that you can do it. It's all confidence for public speaking, really, because if you're not sure of what you're going to say, you're always going to stumble over your words. I think almost anybody could agree that no matter how good you are at it, if you have absolutely no idea what you're talking about and you don't believe in yourself, you're like that's just a recipe for disaster. But it's at least for what we do, I'd say almost all of it just comes from being pretty certain that you know what you're talking about and knowing that you want to do a good job getting that information out there.
Yeah, trusting yourself can go a really long way because there are a bunch of unknowns whenever you enter into a conversation, you're coming onto a show, you're doing some performance. There will be some unknowns, and I trust myself to handle the changing situations as they come up. That gives you a lot of confidence. You feel a lot more robust in being able to deal with stuff because you have that belief in yourself. So believe in yourself.
Awesome. That does it, guys. Long show. Thank you so much for joining me, you two. I think you were the perfect people to have on for this episode. And Happy New Year's to you guys and everyone else that has tuned in. A big thanks to our super supporter, Benjamin, and our $100 tier, Shane, Astrofin, and Jerry Wang for supporting. Check it out, patreon.com/ThePylonShow. Thank you, everyone who supports the show. It would not exist without you guys. We appreciate it so much. So before you guys head off, where can people find more of you? What do you have coming up? Nero.
Twitch.tv/Neuro. I will be streaming after this. twitter.com/NeuroZerg, patreon.com/NeuroZerg. My Patreon is all public posts, meaning you do not have to pledge. That's just going to be my high impact educational materials, guides for strats. I have a build order post. My book is available for $1. My replay packs are posted there for free with different things that I learned from that week of tryhard practice. I have a D&D show every other Thursday, 9 p.m. Pacific time. I also play Classic WoW. I main tank and guild lead. That's 1 p.m. Saturdays and Sundays. We do Naxxramas and AQ40. I'm going to be doing some more online cups again. I've been inactive for pretty much all of 2020. And 2021, you're going to see me fight and die for StarCraft because I want to get in that arena and just be able to compete again. Doesn't necessarily need to be my performance peak, but getting my hands dirty and fighting people is really exciting for everybody. I'm also working on a fitness goal. I want to do the Army PT test just as a personal fitness challenge and see what I can do for that. It's the old one, so it's push-ups, sit-ups, and a run. That's just a physical goal for me. I've done quite a few athletic things in my life, but I haven't had a particular target for a while. So I have a subscription goal for that. Basically, I would have a couple videos that I produce where I'm training for it and talking about the different fitness things that I've learned from coaches and my athletic career and that kind of stuff. And also just real talk about how my body is doing. I'm 31 and I'm not going to be healing as fast as I was when I was 21. So just being very real and candid and human and genuine through that process and trying to set a good example for people to be aware of their fitness. Check your posture, check your hydration, people. Posture is going to be really good for your health in the long term. Look out for your back.
Indeed. Nathanias, how about you?
I've just been working on the stream grind, getting back on it. Had a nice took the week off for Christmas, went out into the woods. That was fun and cold. And yeah, I'll just be streaming Twitch.com/Nathanias. I'm currently on sabbatical from StarCraft ladder until I can find a way to do it that doesn't make me feel like I'm not going anywhere. At least with my stress and whatnot, you know. And so I just beat Dark Souls. So if you were interested in watching people play games like that, I've been bouncing between that, playing a lot of League. I think my next single player game I'm going to be streaming is Metal Gear Solid 3, another one of my favorites that I've been wanting to play on the channel for a long time. And that's about it. Just keeping on working hard and yeah, just sticking to it. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, no, thank you guys for coming. Really appreciate it. Yeah, and big thanks to everyone involved in the Pylon Show, the whole staff, for making this happen. Much love to you all. And that's it, guys. Happy New Year. Pylon Show will be back in the new year. We'll announce the next episode once we plan it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's it. See you guys. See you in the new year. Bye-bye.
Hello, everyone. We're going to run an ad 60 seconds before we host Neuro. There is no This Week in StarCraft. We took the week off for that. It's a little bit slow time of the year. See you all next week.